Chapter 251. No wonder Master's tone was wrong and said a lot of inexplicable words. It turns out that he was afraid that I would be tempted to join the heavenly court and get involved in trouble. Master still doesn't understand me, the ancestor of itinerant immortals. Being free and unfettered is my pursuit. Although the heavenly court is good, it is not a place for a free and unfettered person. Otherwise, with my background of the same origin as the heavenly realm, it would not be a problem for me to become the lord of the heavenly court. After understanding everything, Xianqing pretended to be enlightened and said to Baizé, "Your Majesty? So it's Uncle Master." I dare not refuse a gift from an elder. Since it was given by Uncle Master, poor Wei will shamelessly accept it. As he spoke, Xianqing took the jade pot from Baizé and said, "I hope fellow Taoists can thank Uncle Master on behalf of poor Wei. When the matter in Kunlun is over, poor Wei will definitely go to the heavenly court and personally thank you." "It's okay, fellow Taoist, you're too polite." Baizé waved his hand and said goodbye. The heavenly court is busy, and there are many secular matters waiting for poor Wei to deal with. Since the gift has been given, poor Wei will take his leave first. Poor Wei will wait for fellow Taoist's arrival in the heavenly court. After speaking, Baizé did not wait for Xianqing to persuade him to stay. He bowed and left Kunlun Mountain. A pot of triple light, holy water, Dijun is quite generous. After watching Baizé leave, Xianqing shook the jade pot in his hand and said with a smile, "Dijun did not lack triple light, holy water, and neither did he. Moreover, he had a chaos spring that could continuously produce chaos spirit spring that was more precious than triple light, holy water." Yuan Shi Tianzuan had just returned to the jade clear hall. Before he sat down, he saw Guang Qingzi running in anxiously. "Bastard, why are you in such a panic? Do you still have the demeanor of an immortal?" Yuan Shi Tianzuan's face immediately darkened, and he scolded Guang Qingzi unhappily. "Master, please forgive me, I know my mistake." Realizing that he had lost his composure, Master Guangqing hurriedly stopped and carefully tidied himself up. After regaining his former composure, he walked slowly to the heavenly lord of the origin and bowed to him. "Disciple Guang, Qingzi greets Master." Seeing this, the primeval lord of heaven's expression eased. He nodded satisfactorily at Guang Qingzi and said, "Not bad. This is how the celestial Zhen of Xianmen should be." Then he asked about the purpose of Guang Qingzi's visit. "Well, why have you come to visit me?" "Master," junior brotherling Bao had a dispute with the disciples of Jie School and was suppressed under the Qilin Cliff by Taoist Xianqing. He couldn't escape. As for us disciples, our strength is truly too weak. Even after using all our means, we still couldn't save junior brother. Feeling extremely ashamed, we could only come here to beg Master to save junior brother and save him from the pain of being suppressed. With that said, Guang Qingzi prostrated himself on the ground. His face was suffused with hatred, as though he was the one being suppressed and not the great Taoist master, numinous treasure. After rescuing Ling Bao, "Do you still want to suppress Xianqing?" So that he would know that the disciples of Jie School couldn't afford to provoke the disciples of Chan School. Hearing Guang Qingzi's words, the primeval lord of heaven's expression gradually changed. He became expressionless. Then he tried his best to suppress the anger in his heart and tried his best to ask in a calm tone, "Yes and no." Guang Qingzi, kneeling on the ground, Guang Qingzi couldn't see the expression of the primeval Lord of Heaven. Hearing his words, he thought that his master was going to stand up for him and the others. He hurriedly said, "Yes, Master is right." Taoist Xianqing, relying on his high cultivation, dared to bully the disciples of Chan School. He deserves this retribution. It's best to suppress him under the Qilin Cliff so that he can have a taste of what junior brotherling Bao suffered. He had even thought about how to deal with Xianqing. After that, Guang Qingzi seemed to feel that it wasn't enough to vent his anger. Guang Qingzi continued, However, Xianqing has already proven his doubt as Daluo Jinxian. The primordial turbid air under the Qilin cliff may not be able to deal with him. Master, why don't you? Guangchengzi was venting his anger, but he didn't notice that the primeval Lord of Heaven's face was getting darker and darker, and his eyebrows were twitching violently. Obviously, he couldn't bear it anymore. Shut up. Bastard, Xianqing is your senior brother and Daluo Taoist priests. How can you call his name directly? Ling Bao disrespected his elders and spoke rudely to Xianqing. He asked for it by being suppressed under the Qilin cliff for 2,000 years. It's already a big mistake for you not to learn from it. How dare you instigate me to release Ling Bao to suppress Xianqing? You, how awe-inspiring! The primeval Lord of Heaven stood up from the futon and interrupted Guangchengzi's words. He pointed at him and scolded angrily. I know my mistake. Master, please calm down. The primeval Lord of Heaven's sudden anger frightened Guangchengzi, and he kowtowed repeatedly. Calm down. Did Ling Bao ask you to plead for mercy? The primeval Lord of Heaven snorted and asked. The saint still respected the privacy of his disciples. If it wasn't necessary, he would never calculate the information of his disciples. Therefore, the saint who was almost omnipotent and omniscient lost his composure when facing his disciple. No, I saw that junior brother was pitiful and specially came to plead with Master. It has nothing to do with junior brother. Afraid of implicating others, Guangchengzi simply took all the responsibility on his own. This responsibility is a bit like the senior brother of the Chan school. The primeval Lord of Heaven was very satisfied with Guangchengzi's attitude. Even his anger dissipated. As the senior brother, he knew how to protect his junior brother. Anyone who saw him would praise him. If Guangchengzi pushed all the responsibility to his junior brother, it would be really disappointing. However, satisfaction was satisfaction. Punishment was still punishment. Since you want to be a good person, I'll fulfill your wish. Pass my decree. Ling Bao spoke rudely and used weapons rashly. He committed a huge mistake. Therefore, he was suppressed under the Qilin cliff and could not appear for 10,000 years. Immortals, please take this as a warning. Good fellow, he directly added 8,000 years to the great Taoist Master Ling Bao's sentence. It happened to be the deadline set by Xianqing in the beginning. After announcing the punishment of the great Taoist Master Ling Bao, the primeval Lord of Heaven continued. Guangchengzi has no respect for his elders. He locked him in the wind thunder rock and suffered 1,000 years of thunder punishment. The other disciples don't think about cultivation. They only know how to argue all day and cause trouble. Therefore, I'll punish you to face the wall for 1,000 years. The other disciples of the Chan school who were waiting outside the hall could not help but look bitter when they heard that. They looked at each other and bowed towards the jade pure hall. Yes, master. After saying that, everyone returned to their cave abodes and faced the wall. Master, I'm going. In the jade pure hall, Guangchengzi bowed and turned to leave. He went to the wind thunder rock to be punished. Chapter 252. The wind thunder rock was the place where the connate wind and thunder powers converged. It was a great land of creation in the primordial world. Although one had to be tortured by the 9 heavens astral wind and the connate divine thunder every day, there were opportunities in the trials. If Guangchengzi could calm himself down and fight against the innate divine lightning day in and day out, he might be able to comprehend an innate divine lightning art that belonged to him. After all, he was his favorite disciple. How could the primordial Lord of Heaven punish him so severely for such a small matter? It was just an excuse to give Guangchengzi an opportunity. However, whether Guangchengzi could seize this opportunity depended on his own ability. In addition, among the disciples of the Chan school, other than the great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure who was really punished, The rest were forced to go back to cultivate by the primordial Lord of Heaven. Although it was called a punishment, it was just a show for outsiders. In the Shanqing Hall, the Grand Master of Heaven heard the primordial Lord of Heaven's voice and smiled. Pass down my decree. The disciple of the Jia school, Zhao Gongming, has been disrespectful to the Kunlun Mountain. Today he will be punished to go to the Valley of 10,000 Formations and be punished by the 10,000 Formations. He will not be able to come out for 10,000 years. No matter what the primordial Lord of Heaven's purpose was, it was true that the great Taoist master numinous treasure had been suppressed under the Qilin cliff for 10,000 years. He had already shown his attitude, so the Grand Master of Heaven had to express his attitude. The Valley of 10,000 Formations was originally a nameless valley on the Kunlun Mountain. However, the disciples of the Jia school kept setting up connate array formations here to test their power. Gradually, the connate array formations densely covered the place and gathered many connate Tao. It produced an inexplicable change and evolved into a large array Tao, holy land in the primordial world. There were many connate array formations here, so it was called the Valley of 10,000 Formations. These connate array formations were either perfect or incomplete. They could deduce yin and yang, the 5 elements: wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. There were many mighty forces in the world that had incredible power. Zhao Gongming went here. There he would be tortured by the power of the array formations day and night. It would be unbearable. However, if he could comprehend something here and sense the true meaning of the great Tao, it would be countless benefits for him to attain Tao Daluo Jingxian in the future. Opportunity and risk coexisted. Whether or not one could grasp it all depended on oneself. If the primordial Lord of Heaven could use the excuse of being punished to send his disciples to seek opportunities, so could the Grand Master of Heaven. Kunlun Mountain, Tao Teaching Peak. This was the place where Tongtian preached. There was a purple bell at the peak of the mountain. It was a superior grade connate spiritual treasure called the Immortal Gathering Bell. Tongtian had obtained this bell from the treasure-snatching rock. Xianqing did not know its specific power. He only knew that once the bell rang, it would spread throughout the entire Kunlun Mountain. At that time, the disciples of Jia school, who were scattered all over Kunlun, would rush over when they heard the bell and listen to the saints preaching. Thus, this bell was named the Immortal Assembling Bell. After Bai Zhe left, Xianqing rushed over and gently rang the congregating immortals' bell. "Junior brothers, quickly come to Tao Teaching Peak to see me." Swish, 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 the disciples of Jia school flew out from all over Kunlun. Apart from the disciples who were restricted from going out previously, all of them rushed over. The ones who rushed over first were naturally the 4 true disciples of the Grand Master of Heaven: Taoist Duobao, the goddess of golden spirit, the goddess of Wudong, and the goddess of turtle spirit. Behind them, a group of outer sect disciples led by the 3 sky fairies, Long Ears, and Dingguang immortals rushed over. "Senior brother, all the junior brothers are here. May I know what instructions senior brother has for summoning us here?" When everyone arrived, Taoist Duobao stood up and asked Xianqing on behalf of everyone. "Today, in the Jade Void Palace, I was ordered by eldest martial uncle to be the celestial lord of the Xian sect to monitor the conduct of the disciples of the Xian sect. In the future, if there are any disciples of the Xian sect who violate the precepts of the Xian sect and go against the heavens, once discovered, they will either reflect on their mistakes in seclusion or turn into ashes. Therefore, I hope that all of you will wholeheartedly pursue the Tao in the future. Be careful with your words and actions, and strive to be the role models of the Xian sect. Don't cause trouble. Don't violate the precepts of the Xian sect to avoid damaging Master's reputation. It will also save me a lot of trouble. Junior brothers, have you heard me clearly?" Sitting at the head of the table, Xianqing glanced at everyone below and said slowly, "We understand. From now on, we will cultivate wholeheartedly and strive to attain the Daluo Dao fruit as soon as possible. Everyone nodded and said in unison, "Yes, it's good that you understand. Remember what you said today. If one day you offend me, don't blame me for being merciless." In order to prevent everyone from not taking this matter to heart, Xianqing added sternly, "Let's put the ugly words first. In the future, if someone from Jia school really offended him, he would have a reason. One had to know that the higher one's cultivation realm, the more one could not casually make promises. One might not remember them, but the heavenly Tao would definitely help them remember them one by one. At that moment, they made a promise under the witness of the Daluo Jingxian, Xianqing, in the place where the saint taught the Tao. Regardless of whether they would remember it in the future, the heavenly Tao would definitely remember it. When someone was really punished by Xianqing in the future, it could not be blamed on Xianqing. It could only be said that karma was entangled. That person deserved this tribulation. We don't dare. In the future, if we violate the precepts of the Xian sect and cause Master's reputation to be damaged, there is no need for eldest senior brother to do anything. We will no longer have the face to exist in the primordial world and end our own lives. Seeing Xianqing's stern tone, everyone hurriedly promised and even swore a poison oath. "Junior brothers, you're being too serious. It's not that I'm strict. I'm just afraid that you'll be rash and form karma and attract calamity. Endure it for a while and calm down. Take a step back and the world will be vast. We are all disciples of the saints. Our futures are limitless. When we reach the Daluo Jingxian in the future, we will be immortal and can be carefree. Now, enduring a period of hardship in exchange for a carefree life in the future is completely worth it. Therefore, before the Daluo, I hope that junior brothers will focus on cultivating. Don't be distracted by external matters." Upon hearing that, Xianqing felt that he had gone overboard and comforted them gently. "Thank you for your trouble, eldest senior brother." Hearing that, everyone was deeply touched. They stood up and bowed to Xianqing. "Junior brothers, you're too polite." He reached out and waved his hand to help everyone up, preventing them from bowing. Xianqing turned to Duobao and said, "Junior brother, you have always been responsible for handling matters in the sect. There's no need to trouble the two masters with this matter. I'll have to trouble you to monitor the character of the disciples. Junior brother. Senior brother, you have to monitor the entire Xian sect. I really can't care too much. Monitoring the Xian sect was already enough to offend people. It was better to be separated." "Yes." Duo Bao took a step forward and replied. The current Duo Bao had just been born not long ago. He was still a simple and honest young man. In addition, half of his current abilities were taught by Xianqing. Therefore, he respected Xianqing very much and naturally would not object to Xianqing's arrangements. Chapter 253. Yes. I'm very assured with you in charge. Looking at Duo Bao in front of him, Xianqing nodded and said in an inexplicable tone, "Who would have thought that this silly young man in front of him would be the top great divine ability that would shock the three realms in the future? The Lord of Buddhism, Gautama Buddha! All right, it's not easy for us to gather. I can't let you guys come here for nothing. Coincidentally, I just got a pot of 3 brilliants divine water from the Heavenly Emperor. I'll give it to you." As he spoke, Xianqing took out the 3 brilliants divine water from Baizé and handed it to Duo Bao. "Junior brother, go and distribute the 3 brilliants divine water. You must be fair and just. Even for those junior brothers who can't come here for some reason, you have to leave some for them. When they come out of seclusion, give it to them personally. Also, you can't forget about Chan School. They can be stingy, but we can't. Otherwise, how are we different from them?" After handing the 3 brilliants divine water to Duo Bao, Xian Qing reminded him. Yes, senior brother. I understand. I'll definitely be fair and just. Duo Bao promised after taking the 3 brilliants, divine water. Combining kindness and authority was the simplest and most effective way to control one's subordinates. Xian Qing naturally knew that. Anyway, the 3 brilliants, divine water, was useless to him. He might as well distribute it to the people of Jie School in exchange for their favor and improve his image in their hearts. No matter how he looked at it, Xian Qing would not lose out. After Duo Bao finished distributing the 3 brilliants, divine water, Xian Qing waved his hand and signaled everyone to be quiet. Junior brothers, you haven't seen each other for many years. Let's exchange cultivation insights here to reminisce about the feelings of being in the same sect. I still have some mundane matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. After the scene quietened down, Xian Qing bade farewell to everyone. We'll see you off, eldest senior brother. Everyone hurriedly bowed to Xian Qing. After receiving his benefits, everyone's already enthusiastic attitude became even more enthusiastic. It was also because Di Jun had sent enough 3 brilliants, divine water. In addition, the disciples of Jie School added up to less than 1,000 people. It was far from the grand occasion of the tens of thousands of immortals in the future. As a result, each disciple received no less than 100 drops of triple brilliance holy water, which was quite a fortune. One should know that the triple brilliance sacred water was the essence of the stars, a heavenly treasure that contained the essence of creation. Every drop of the 3 brilliants divine water was extremely precious. It could revive the dead and regenerate bones. It was a treasure that all living beings in the great, desolate world yearned for but could not obtain. The disciples of the Jie School were mostly Khanate life forms. They were not as wealthy as the Khanate god fiends. Most of them were destitute, not to mention the Khanate spiritual treasures and the Khanate Daoist scriptures. Even the acquired spiritual treasures and the cultivation techniques and divine abilities were all basic Dharma formulations and Dharma treasures that were widely spread in the primitive world. Although his situation improved after he joined the Jie sect and received the treasure from the Grand Master of Heaven, it did not change much. At most, he was no longer so shabby. Therefore, how could they not be happy and excited when they suddenly obtained so much Sangguang, holy water? How could they not be grateful to Xian Qing? Eldest senior brother, please wait. Outside the Tao teaching peak, Xian Qing had just taken a few steps when he saw a beautiful female immortal hurriedly running to his side and calling out to him. It's junior sister Yun Shao. Why did you stop senior brother? Xian Qing recognized the person in front of him and said with a smile, Yun Shao was the true number 1 person in the outer sect of the Jie School. Her cultivation level and aptitude were even stronger than Zhao Gongming's. However, she kept a low profile and did not want to steal her brother's limelight. That was why she was not famous. Speaking of Cloudsky's background, it was also extraordinary. Speaking of which, above the East Ocean, there was a breeze and 3 colorful clouds. They were hiding in an immortal island and were protected by a Khanate array. After the Grand Master of Heaven accepted Xian Qing as his disciple in the East Ocean, he felt that the East Ocean was fated with him and often traveled to the East Ocean. It was also the will of the heavens. One day, the Grand Master of Heaven thought of something and came to the East Ocean again. By chance, he discovered the 4 little fellows and found them interesting. Hence, he preached the Tao to them for 1,000 years. With the help of this, the 4 of them transformed. 3 women and 1 man were Khanate god fiends. They called each other brother and sister. The 4 of them were grateful for the kindness of the saint and begged bitterly, wanting to acknowledge the Grand Master of Heaven as his master. Looking at the 4 little fellows in front of him, the Grand Master of Heaven was delighted. With a wave of his hand, he brought them back to the Kunlun mountain and accepted them as outer sect disciples. The 4 of them were San Shao and Zhao Gongming. They were also the only 4 outer sect disciples of the Jia school that were not hated by the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning and the Grand Pure One. In the primordial world, all natural phenomena that took form had the potential of connate god fiends. Moreover, they were born with the connate luck and were top-notch perfected immortals of the primordial world. It was not easy for connate spiritual clouds to take form. In the entire primordial world, there were only 5 of them. They were Hong Yun, San Shao, and Yun Zhongzi. They were all extraordinary people. The manifestation of the innate clear wind was also extraordinary. The demon master Kuan Peng was born from the fusion of connate feng shui. The Kuan was a connate water spirit, and the Peng was a connate wind spirit. When the two combined, it was Kuan Peng. Such potential was not inferior to the 3 pure ones. If he had not become a disciple late, he would have been a successor disciple of the celestial sect of wonders. Such a background was really likable. The Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning and the Grand Pure One could not hate them. Even the Grand Master of Heaven liked the 4 of them very much. He even gave the supreme grade connate spirit treasure, the primordial chaos golden chalice, a supreme dharma treasure that could collect everything in the world, to Yun Shao. It was obvious that he liked it. Eldest senior brother, I have something to ask you for help. After hesitating for a moment, Yun Shao said, Is it for junior brother Gongming? Without thinking, Xian Qing knew why Yun Shao was looking for him. Yun Shao had a calm personality. Apart from interacting with a group of female immortals, she almost did not interact with outsiders. She was not familiar with Xian Qing. Xian Qing could not think of any other reason to look for him today apart from pleading for Zhao Gongming. That's right. I wonder what mistake my eldest brother made that Master wants to punish him by sending him to the 10,000 Array Valley. Yun Shao nodded and asked in confusion. Zhao Gongming wanted to kill the great Taoist master, Numinous Treasure. This was a scandal that concerned the reputation of Kunlun. How could the disciples of Jia school have the face to say it? Therefore, no matter how Yun Shao asked everyone, they either stammered, went into seclusion, or talked about other things. In short, they did not tell Yun Shao the truth. Helpless, Yun Shao could only bite the bullet and look for Xian Qing to seek an answer from him. Even if she wanted to plead for mercy, she had to know what mistake Zhao Gongming had made before she could think of a solution. I shouldn't have told anyone about this, but this is the first time junior sister has asked me for help. I can't refuse, so I might as well tell you. If I hadn't gone in time, the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure would have died under the Kunwa sword. After thinking for a while, Xian Qing tried his best to summarize the matter in one sentence. Is Big Brother crazy? How dare he kill the senior brother of Chan School? This matter was too sensational. When Yun Shao heard it, she could not help but be shocked. Chapter 254. If the great Taoist Master Ling Bao died, the relationship between the 3 pure ones would be ruined. Zhao Gongming's sin would be huge. Junior sister, junior brother Gongming almost made a huge mistake. Master and Uncle Master are already merciful for keeping him alive. Don't ask for too much. Moreover, although the 10,000 Formation Valley is dangerous, it won't endanger your life. Junior brother Gongming will at most suffer a little there. Compared to the mistake he made, it's nothing. It's good to let him remember. Moreover, danger and opportunity coexist in the 10,000 Formation Valley. If junior brother Gongming can comprehend something, it will benefit him for the rest of his life. Whether this is a punishment or a reward is still uncertain. Master's realm is high. His actions must have a deeper meaning. He won't harm junior brother Gongming. Junior sister, don't worry. Afraid that Yun Shao would recklessly go to the Grand Master of Heaven to plead for mercy and anger him, Xian Qing repeatedly advised, Thank you for clearing my doubts, senior brother. Yun Shao understands. Yun Xiao was not a fool. After hearing Xian Qing say so much, she naturally knew the severity of the matter. How would she dare to plead for Zhao Gongming? Yes, junior sister has always been steady. Senior brother, you don't need to remind me of anything. If all the junior brothers were like junior sister, then it would be a lot easier to worry about. Senior brother, you must be joking. Yun Xiao is not as good as you say. Yun Xiao covered her mouth and chuckled. Junior sister, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. I have urgent matters to attend to. Xian Qing shook his head and did not say anything else. Instead, he said goodbye. He really had something important to do. If he could succeed, it would be enough to affect the future generations. It was related to countless lives and could be said to be immeasurable. Yun Xiao was rude. I almost delayed senior brother's important matter. Senior brother, you don't have to mind me. Go ahead. Yun Xiao seemed to have understood something and said embarrassedly, It's fine. Since you're fine, I'll take my leave first. By the way, if you have any questions about your cultivation in the future, you can ask me at the Xianqing Palace. No matter what, I'm still the Daluo Jinxian. I can still guide you in your cultivation. Xian Qing gently shook his head and said, Thank you, senior apprentice brother. In the future, we will have to bring our junior brothers and sisters to the profound, clear palace to disturb senior martial brother. I hope senior martial brother won't find us annoying. Yun Xiao was smart. Of course. She did not think that Xian Qing was talking to her alone. Without a doubt, Xian Qing wanted to use her to inform all the disciples of Jie School. As long as one wasn't a fool, they wouldn't reject a Daluo Jinxian who was willing to answer their questions for free. How could that be? Senior brother is more than happy to see you all here. I won't be annoyed. In that case, I will wait for your arrival in the profound, clear palace. After saying that, Xian Qing crossed the clouds and walked towards the Xianqing Palace. Yun Xiao respectfully sends senior brother off. Xianqing Palace, one of the 4 palaces of Kunlun. It was also the only main hall in Kunlun other than the 3 Pristine's palace. It belonged to Xianqing. Among the disciples of Kunlun, only Xianqing had such treatment. He enjoyed the privilege alone to show the difference between him and the other disciples of Kunlun. In the hall, Xianqing sat cross-legged. In front of him were 3 Khanate Qi. One was the Khanate 5 Elements Qi. One was the Khanate Yin-Yang Essence Qi, and one was the Chaos Origin Qi. What Xianqing said earlier was related to the 3 Khanate Qi. It was enough to affect the future. The Khanate 5 Elements Qi was the cornerstone of the untainted world. It could create all things and give birth to many Khanate Qi. In order to condense a Khanate 5 Elements Qi, a golden immortal had to collect the 5 Elements Qi from the void day and night. It could only be achieved after 1,000 years. The Khanate Yin-Yang Essence Qi was the foundation of the 5 elements and the essence of creation. A Khanate Yin-Yang Essence Qi could be compared to 10,000 Khanate 5 Elements Qi. It required a Tai Jinxian to condense the Yin-Yang Essence Qi from the world day and night. It would take 1,000 years to create it. The Chaos Origin Qi was the beginning of Yin and Yang, the foundation of all things, and the source of all Khanate Qi in the untainted world. A Chaos Origin Qi could be compared to 10,000 Khanate Yin-Yang Essence Qi and 100 million Khanate 5 Elements Qi. In order to form a strand of primal Chaos Origin Qi, in addition to the natural derivation of heaven and earth, it required a Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal to gather primal Chaos Qi from the primal chaos outside the world and condense it for 1,000 years before it could take form. It was extremely precious. Among the 3 Khanate Qi, the Khanate 5 Elements Qi was the most common. As long as one put effort into it, there were many of them in the untainted world. There was no need for a golden immortal to spend time and effort to condense them. The connate yin-yang essence, qi, was rare in the untainted world. However, it was just an ordinary thing in the blessed grotto heavens. It was not rare. Only the chaos origin qi was not rare at the beginning of the untainted world. However, it had been almost used up by the heaven and earth. It was the rarest and almost impossible to find. Only Mount Kunlun, the second most sacred place in the untainted world, would produce a few chaos origin qi every year. If it were somewhere else, Daluo Jinxian would have to go to the chaos outside the world to condense it. Boom! Looking at the connate qi in front of him, Xianqing suddenly moved. He formed a seal with both hands, and great Tao runes flew out of his body and arranged in the air, gradually forming a furnace. The furnace seemed real and illusory, and purple light flowed around it. The walls of the furnace were covered with great Tao runes, shining brightly. His body also released an ancient and desolate aura, ancient and peaceful. That was the aura of the great Tao. This furnace was like a carrier of the great Tao. As soon as it appeared, it emitted a supreme power. The laws of heaven and earth creaked under the pressure, as if they could collapse the world. It was extremely terrifying. This was the heaven and earth furnace. No, it should be called the Great Tao Furnace now. In the chaos outside the world, the heaven and earth furnace had corroborated with the Great Tao, resulting in a shocking transformation. It had completely advanced into a true, supreme, Great Tao Furnace. Under the Great Tao, there was nothing it could not refine. The Supreme Great Tao, derived Supreme Great Tao, was so domineering. Refine. Xianqing pointed at the connate 5 elements qi and sent it into the Great Tao Furnace. Rumble. The Great Tao Furnace suddenly operated, and the void shook inexplicably. The power of 10,000 Taos fell, turning into a raging Tao fire that burned toward the Great Tao Furnace and began to refine the connate 5 elements qi. There was no skill in this refining method. It only used a powerful force to continuously condense the connate 5 elements qi, transforming it from a gaseous state to a solid state. The connate 5 elements qi was not powerful. Even an ordinary immortal fire could refine it, not to mention this kind of Tao fire that was ignited with the power of 10,000 Taos. Its power was comparable to the top primordial true fire and heavenly fire. In just a moment, the connate 5 elements qi was refined into a ball and turned into a round pill. Chapter 255. Good Pill. Reaching out to take the 5 elements divine pill, Xianqing looked at it for a moment and couldn't help but praise. This pill was born with 5 colors and was surrounded by a 5-colored halo. It had all 5 elements and contained a great amount of connate qi. This pill alone was comparable to 1,000 years of cultivation for a golden immortal. In other words, if a golden immortal took this pill, he would immediately increase his cultivation by 1,000 years. The connate 5 elements qi was the essence of heaven and earth and was the most gentle. Immortal pills refined with it as the main ingredient would not explode even if a cultivator below the golden immortal realm took it. Instead, it would settle in the body of the user and continuously release energy until the energy was exhausted. Moreover, this pill was born of the connate 5 elements and could be said to be of the same origin as heaven and earth. In the primordial world, immortals, gods, demons, and sorcerers were not restricted. Any living being could consume it without any side effects. Although this connate 5 elements divine pill wasn't precious, it was quite magical and was not bad. From now on, this pill will be called the creation pill. The connate 5 elements creation pill. After a while, Xianqing's mind moved, and he gave the 5 elements divine pill a name. The 5 elements gathered and creation was born. This pill was refined with the connate 5 elements qi, and it was most appropriate to call it the creation pill. Putting the connate 5 elements creation pill aside, Xianqing looked at the connate yin-yang essence. Go. With an order, the great Tao furnace shook and released a great suction force, sucking in the connate yin-yang essence. Rumble. The great Tao furnace operated again, and the Tao fire burned even more fiercely. The refining power surged out, and a huge power leaked out, burning the void until it distorted. Not long after, the great Tao furnace returned to calmness, and the Tao fire gradually subsided. A divine pill surrounded by yin-yang qi slowly rose from the great Tao furnace, releasing black and white divine light. It looked extraordinary. This pill was black and white, surrounded by yin-yang qi. It was the essence of heaven and earth, the essence of the sun and moon, and could create a small kiliocosm. This pill could increase a Tai Jinxian's cultivation by 1,000 years. Any living being of any realm could take it. It had the same nature as the innate 5 elements fortune pill, but it was of a higher level. This pill is also a good fortune pill. It can be called a pre-celestial yin-yang good fortune pill. It contains the power of good fortune and the wonders of yin and yang. After looking at the innate yin-yang nature elixir for a while, Xianqing decided on its name and placed it beside the innate 5 elements nature elixir. Then he turned his gaze to the last strand of connate qi. Innate ancestor, primal chaos origin qi. This was the true treasure of the untainted land, the treasure that even Daluo Jingxian needed. Boom! The furnace of the great path was trembling wildly. The runes of the great path on the furnace walls lit up one after another. Terrifying power spread out. Even the rules were twisting as if they could not withstand it. Under this power, the primal chaos origin energy shrunk continuously, gradually condensing into a small ball and turning into a gray chaos divine pill. No, this should be called a chaos Tao core. One could see a strange Taoist rhyme flowing on the Tao core that was refined by the chaos origin qi. It was as if it had been born naturally. It seemed to be explaining the principles of the universe, demonstrating the changes of the connate qi, and containing supreme creation. This chaos Tao core could increase the cultivation of a Daluo Jingxian by 1,000 years. It could help Tai Jingxian improve his connate origin energy and increase the possibility of becoming a Daluo Jingxian. The primal chaos origin qi was born from heaven and earth. It contains the principles of the universe. It is the source of creation, the beginning of all things, and the ancestor of the connate. Therefore, this pill is called the Creation Tao Core. With a thought, Xianqing decided on the name of this Chaos Tao Core. This pill was also a type of creation elixir. However, compared to the innate yin-yang nature elixir, the essence of the Creation Tao Core was undoubtedly higher. It was the best of the 3 pills. At this point, the 3 strands of connate qi had all been refined into innate creation elixirs. Xianqing's grand plan was nearing its end. He only needed to complete the last step to succeed. Not bad, the 3 creation elixirs have been refined. This matter is done. Looking at the creation elixirs in front of him, Xianqing was a little excited. His grand plan was to set a currency for the primordial world. The current primordial world was still in the era of bartering, from the great mystical abilities to the postnatal living beings. If they wanted to trade, they would use treasures of the same value to exchange. There was no exception. Xianqing had lived in the primordial world for so long and had gradually gotten used to this method of trading. However, after the Grand Master of Heaven accepted Zhao Gongming as his disciple, Xianqing suddenly remembered Zhao Gongming's identity in the future. Only then did he have a flash of inspiration and think of setting a currency for the primordial world. Zhao Gongming was the god of fortune. Although Xianqing's idea was good, it was not easy to find a currency that could be recognized by all living beings in the primordial world. If a currency wanted to be recognized, it had to have a great value that could allow all living beings in the primordial world to benefit from it. or the person who issued it had a great influence and could obtain the unanimous approval of all living beings in the primordial world. Only then could he turn something rotten into something magical and make an ordinary item have extraordinary meaning. In the primordial world, there was only one person who could have such influence, Tao ancestor Hongjun. The Tao ancestor had a noble status and lived in seclusion in the Purple Cloud Palace. If there was no major event in the primordial world, he would not appear. Xianqing did not have the ability to invite the Tao ancestor from the Purple Cloud Palace to guarantee the currency he issued so that it could obtain the approval of all living beings in the primordial world and replace the method of bartering. Therefore, he could only set his sights on the first method. In the primordial world, the only thing that all living beings in the primordial world liked and were closely related to it was the Kanei Qi. After all, this was the foundation of cultivation. If all living beings in the primordial world wanted to cultivate, they could not do without it. The fact that spirit stones that contained spiritual energy in the future could be popular and become the currency of the cultivation world also proved this point. However, this was the primordial world after all. Moreover, it was the most prosperous era of the primordial world. The Kanei Qi was extremely dense and almost turned into spiritual rain. It was not something that the harsh cultivation environment of the future could compare to. It was probably faster to absorb a mouthful of qi than to refine spirit stones. Therefore, in this environment, using spirit stones as currency would probably not be recognized by all living beings. However, methods were all thought of by people. Xianqing thought hard for thousands of years and finally thought of a way. Spirit stones could not be used as currency because their value was too low. It was not that this method was not good. Then, wouldn't it be fine to find a treasure that had the same nature as spirit stones but was more valuable than them? As a result, these 3 revival pills were born. The Kanei 5 Elements Creation pill had the cultivation of a golden immortal for 1,000 years. It was of great benefit to cultivators in the golden immortal realm and below. Chapter 256. The Kanei Yin-Yang Creation Elixir contained 1,000 years of cultivation of a Tai Jinxian. It was specially prepared for Tai Jinxian cultivators. Of course, if a golden immortal cultivator used it, the effect would be better. It would be very helpful for breaking through the Tai Jinxian. The Chaos Tao Elixir was equivalent to 1,000 years of cultivation of a Daluo Jinxian. It was a currency prepared for transactions between Daluo, Jinxian, and quasi-sages. These 3 creation elixirs were both elixirs and currencies. They were similar to spirit stones, but of a higher level. Among them, the Kanei 5 Elements Creation Elixir was the lowest level. Its raw materials were also the most common and could be found everywhere in the primordial world. Even if the raw materials could not be found, a golden immortal cultivator could condense 1 in 1,000 years. A Tai Jinxian could condense 1 in a year. A Daluo Jinxian was even more impressive. 10 minutes was enough. Only golden immortals had a foothold in the primordial world and could travel everywhere. The currency established by the Xianqing started with golden immortals as the starting point. The Kanei Yin-Yang Creation Elixir was refined from the Kanei Yin-Yang Essence Qi. Most of them were stored in the grotto heavens and blessed lands. It might be difficult for ordinary cultivators to find them. However, it did not matter if they could not find the Kanei Yin-Yang Essence Qi. Refining 10,000 Kanei 5 Elements Creation Elixirs would allow them to refine 1 Kanei Yin-Yang Creation Elixir. Similarly, refining 10,000 Kanei Yin-Yang Creation Elixirs would allow them to obtain a Chaos Tao Elixir. As such, the creation elixir had all the characteristics that a currency should have. Moreover, the Xianqing had the 3 pure ones backing them. They were the top forces in the primordial world and had the ability to issue currencies. As long as they were recognized by the heavenly Tao, the creation elixir could replace the barter method and become the first currency in the primordial world. When that time came, Great merit would naturally descend and great luck would be on their bodies. Moreover, even if the world changed and the laws changed greatly in the future, Connate became postnatal and spirit stones and immortal stones became popular, the creation elixir would not be eliminated. It would continue to exist. That was because the creation elixir took the upper class route. No matter how prosperous the spiritual stones and immortal stones were, their essence was there. In the end, they would not be of any use to Tai Jingxian and Daluo Jingxian, these people who had merged with Tao. The purpose of their existence was to assist low-level cultivators in their cultivation. They were of no use to powerful cultivators. No matter how much the primordial world had changed, the Daluo Jingxian had always been high and mighty. They were the mainstream of the primordial world. As long as the creation pill could satisfy their needs, then the creation pill would always be the mainstream. No matter what kind of currency appeared in later generations, it would not be able to shake his position. Only when the wills of all living beings were the same as the wills of the Daluo Jingxian would they become particularly important. However, when it came to arguing, Daluo Jingxian's was naturally more important. The heavenly Tao is above. I, Xianqing, a disciple of the Xian sect, feel that in the primordial world, all living beings barter. It is inconvenient. Therefore, I specially refine the transformation pill and set the currency for the primordial world to replace the method of bartering and open the door for all living beings. May the heavenly Tao be the judge. Disciple Xianqing pays his respects. After setting up the offering table, Xianqing placed the 3 creation pills on it and announced to the heavens. As Xianqing's voice fell, the heavenly Tao immediately sensed it. It was as if a pair of eyes had descended and were coldly looking down on the world. In an instant, the wind and clouds above Kunlun Mountain changed. The mighty power of the heavenly Tao descended and shook the primordial world. Approved! A cold and emotionless voice suddenly resounded between heaven and earth, reverberating in all directions so that all living beings could hear it clearly. The heavenly Tao had approved of the creation pill. Suddenly, the 3 creation pills on the offering table slowly rose and burst into bright light. Their figures were reflected in the sky, allowing all living beings in the primordial world to see them clearly. In the next moment, under the influence of the ways of the world, the methods for refining the 3 pills of providence, as well as everything related, automatically appeared in the minds of all living beings. As a result, they naturally grasped the method of refining the pills. This was a gift from the heavenly Tao. It was the first time that money had appeared in the primordial world. All living beings did not know much about it. It was inevitable that the Tao of money would die prematurely. The heavenly Tao had personally enlightened all living beings and opened up the Tao of money for them. Of course, this benefit was only for this one time. It was only for living beings that were alive now. In the future, living beings that were born would not receive this treatment. If they wanted to refine the creation pill, they would need to rely on the guidance of their predecessors. Praise the 9 heavens, immortal. We will remember the immortal's kindness in our hearts. After understanding the key to the creation pill, all living beings bowed in the direction of Kunlun Mountain. They even called out Xianqing's honorific name in unison to express their admiration for him. Money? Creation pill. This Taoist Xianqing is really a great talent. As expected of the chief disciple of the 3rd generation of the Xian sect, it seems that another great medium is about to be born. After finding out the reason for this matter from the heavenly Tao, a group of great mediums sighed. Every time the heavenly Tao made a move, the first to be alarmed were usually these great medium. This time was no exception. Everywhere in the eldritch world was in shock. On the contrary, Kunlun Mountain, which was the source of the incident, was exceptionally quiet. When the 3 pure ones heard about this, they only smiled and did not pay much attention to it. Since the saints did not speak, many disciples did not dare to speak either. Kunlun Mountain fell into silence just like that. Rumble. Above the sky, a golden light appeared first. Then it became bigger and bigger. It seemed to cover the sky and the sun as it surged towards Xianqing. This was the Xianhuang Merit Qi. The birth of money was a great contribution to the evolution of the heavenly Tao and the changes of the eldritch world. Therefore it should be rewarded. In the blink of an eye, the merit golden light arrived above Kunlun Mountain. It split into two in the air. 70% entered Xianqing's body, and 30% merged into the creation pill. Buzz, buzz, buzz. As the merit entered the body, the 3 creation pills underwent a wonderful change. They trembled in the air. The power of the heavenly Tao descended and enveloped the creation pills. In the void, countless Khanate Qi suddenly surged out of nowhere. It was boundless and drowned the creation pills. This change lasted for a long time. 800 years later, the Khanate Qi no longer surged out of the void. The changes of the creation pills also gradually disappeared. After another 100 years, the Khanate Qi in the surroundings was completely absorbed by the creation pills. The power of the heavenly Tao also quietly retreated. The creation pills reappeared in front of Xianqing. No, it should not be called the creation pills anymore. This was because the creation pills had disappeared from where the 3 creation pills were previously. They were replaced by a 7-colored jade bottle. If Xianqing was not wrong, the 7-colored light should be the Khanate Yin-Yang 5 elements Qi. The creation bottle was a middle-grade Khanate merit spiritual treasure, holding the jade bottle in his hand. Xianqing naturally understood its origin. This was a Khanate spiritual treasure formed by the 3 creation pills combined with the merit Qi and the Khanate Qi with the help of the heavenly Tao. Other than being able to produce the creation pills on its own, it had no other use. Chapter 257. He, Xianqing, was Fengzichen. He had the chaos bead and the tree of world, not to mention the Qi of origin. He didn't even lack the Khanate origin. Therefore, the fate bottle seemed a little redundant to him. However, the fate bottle was a Khanate merit spiritual treasure after all. It had the ability to suppress fate. In addition, it was the origin treasure of the way of currency. When the fate pill became popular in the eldritch world, it might be able to take another step forward. It would become a superior grade Khanate spiritual treasure, or even a supreme grade Khanate spiritual treasure, and give birth to a Khanate origin. In this way, the fate bottle would no longer be redundant. It would be a true auxiliary treasure that could help people break through the Daluo Jinxian. It was rare in the world. The current fate bottle could produce 1 chaos Tao pill, 10,000 Khanate Yin-Yang fate pills, and 100 million Khanate 5 elements fate pills every 1,000 years. It was equivalent to 3 Daluo Jinxian. It was not bad. I'll keep it. It was better than nothing. Even if he couldn't use it, it was not bad to give the fate pills produced by the fate bottle to others as a favor. Putting away the bottle of fortune, Xianqing pondered for a moment. Suddenly, he stretched out his hand and grabbed at the void. A terrifying aura burst out, and the strength of a perfected golden immortal was fully displayed. He grabbed tens of thousands of Xiantian Qi from the void. Refine. Xianqing selected a few Khanate Qi from among them. He put them into the great path furnace and refined them according to a special method. Mysterious runes flew out from Xianqing's hands. They kept guiding the Khanate Qi and arranged them into an inexplicable array formation. They gave birth to a strange power and gradually gathered into a ball to form the shape of a pill. That's right, Xianqing was refining pills. The Tao of pills was created by the Grand Pure One because it could help people cultivate. Once the Tao of pills was born, it immediately became popular in the eldritch world. Everyone learned it. As everyone knew, pills were refined from various Khanate spiritual herbs. It was very troublesome to collect them. Spiritual herbs needed time to grow. Every pill was not easy to come from, and connate spiritual herbs, to put it bluntly, were another form of connate qi. Because of this, Xianqing had a bold idea. Since connate spiritual herbs could be refined into pills, why couldn't connate qi that had the same nature? That was the reason for the current scene. The three Pure Ones each had their own strengths. The Grand Pure One was the ancestor of the Tao of pills, and no one in the primordial world could compare to him. The Jade Pure One was a Grand Master of weapon refinement, and no one in the primordial world could compare to him. The Prime Clear One was a Grand Master of array formations, and no one in the primordial world could compare to him. While Xianqing was known as a disciple of the Prime Clear lineage, he was actually taught by the three clear lineages. He possessed extraordinary insights into pill refinement, artifact refinement, and formations. Otherwise, he would not have made up his mind to create another method besides the traditional alchemy method. It was clear that he had a deep foundation and was full of confidence. With the help of Hongmeng Daozhong, Feng Zichen's comprehension ability was only inferior to Dao ancestor Hongjun, who had the creation Jade Butterfly. He could be said to be the second in the primordial world. Even so, Xianqing was not confident. His achievements in the Tao of alchemy had surpassed the Grand Pure One. His achievements in the Tao of artifact refinement had surpassed the Jade Pure Saint. His attainments in the field of formations had surpassed that of the Prime Clear Saints. It was not easy for him to come to the primordial world and have countless knowledge that far exceeded the era. Wouldn't it be a pity if he could not become the first in the Tao that he cultivated? Therefore, Xianqing painstakingly studied the three Taos under such a state of mind. He gathered the strengths of the three sects and finally opened up a method to refine pills with connate spirit qi, the Tao of qi pills. Since he could not surpass the three clear lineages, he would create another Tao on their foundation. It could be considered another kind of transcendence. After painstakingly studying the three Taos for many years, Xianqing had not only gained the Tao of qi pills, there were also many cultivation methods waiting for him to verify. Now, using connate qi to refine pills was to verify the Tao of qi. Xianqing's goal was to become the ancestor of the itinerant immortals of the primordial world and obtain the support of the supreme karma rank. If he wanted to become the ancestor of the itinerant immortals, the 100 arts of immortal cultivation, pill formations, talisman artifacts were naturally indispensable. Xianqing was working hard for this. Buzz! After a tremor, a golden pill flew out of the great Tao furnace. It was accompanied by a golden halo and emitted a faint fragrance as it floated in the air. This was a golden pill at the first transformation. This was a golden pill refined with connate qi, using a large array to refine the essence of connate qi, then using the method of refining weapons to form it, and finally using the method of refining pills to form it. In this way, the golden pill at the first transformation in front of Xianqing was formed. According to the Tai Ching pill scripture, the golden pill was formed by creation. It was divided into 9 transformations. The first transformation was the lowest, and the creation was limited. It was used by celestial immortals. The golden pill had 9 transformations and endless creation. It could bring the dead back to life and go against the heavens to change one's fate. There were very few people in the primordial world who could refine the golden pill at the 9 transformations. Therefore, the golden pill at the 9 transformations was extremely precious. It was the pill used by Daluo Jingxian. The golden pill refined by Xianqing was only at the first transformation. In the primordial world, any cultivator who had entered the Tao of alchemy could refine it. It was not considered a rare item. However, this golden pill at the first transformation was refined with connate qi. It had never appeared before the primordial world. Therefore, it had an extraordinary meaning. It symbolized the beginning of a Tao and had great luck and merit. After the golden pill at the first transformation was born, the laws of heaven and earth appeared around it, as if they were crowding around it. It was as if they were celebrating its birth. It was extremely magical. Even the heavens and earth were happy for its birth. However, only the golden pill at the 9 transformations could be completed. Only by refining the golden pill at the 9 transformations would the Tao of Qi be considered complete. It would be qualified to appear in the primordial world and become one of the many Tao of cultivation in the primordial world. It would enjoy the Qi of heaven and earth. Once again, he placed the golden pill refinement stage 1 into the great Tao furnace. Then, Xianqing grabbed the Qi of Khanate and started to refine the pill again. A few days later, when the furnace fire was extinguished, the golden pill was born again. It was one step closer to advancing from the golden pill at the first transformation to the golden pill at the second transformation. Continue. With a wave of his sleeve, Xianqing repeated the action just now and prepared to refine the golden pill at the 3 transformations. A few months later, the golden pill at the 3 transformations was born. A few years later, the golden pill at the 4 transformations was born. After repeating this 7 times, the golden pill in front of Xianqing had become the golden pill at the 8 transformations. It was round and golden and had a 5-colored halo. It was extraordinary. Success or failure depends on this. Looking at the golden pill at the 8 transformations in front of him, Xianqing flipped his hand and took out 81 strands of Khanate Qi of different attributes and placed them into the great Tao furnace. The Grand Pure One needed 81 types of Khanate spirit fruits to refine a golden pill at the 9 transformations. That was 81 strands of Khanate Qi. The golden pill at the 9 transformations was endless. It could be useful to Daluo Jingxian. Its refining requirements were naturally precious. Otherwise, wouldn't the golden pill at the 9 transformations be overflowing in the primordial world? Things that defied the natural order must have their limitations, and that was the case. Chapter 258. Once the 9 transformations, golden pill appeared, the Tao of Qi core would be completed. In this way, there would be another method in the untainted land, another Tao of alchemy, and another Tao of immortal cultivation. Xianqing could become the ancestor of Qi core and obtain great luck and merit. His status in the Tao of alchemy would be second only to the Grand Pure One. On the other hand, the failure of the 9 transformations golden pill meant that the Tao of Qi core was not perfect and not suitable to appear in the untainted land. It still needed to be perfected and waited for the future. The 9 transformations golden pill was also known as the Tao core. It contained the origin of the congenital realm and merged with Tao. Only in this way could it help Daluo Jingxian. In front of the great Tao furnace, Xianqing calmed his mind and carefully controlled his Dharma power to promote the fusion of the congenital Qi to form the pill. Xianqing was personally taught by the Grand Pure One and had a deep understanding of the Tao of alchemy. Refining the 9 transformation golden pill was extremely difficult for others, but for him, it was just a matter of time and effort. It was not difficult at all, but that was using congenital spiritual herbs to refine the 9 transformations golden pill. It was also his first time using congenital Qi to refine the 9 transformations golden pill, so he did not have much experience. Moreover, the success or failure of the 9 transformations golden pill determined the success or failure of the Tao of Qi core. He had to be careful. Just like that, 1,000 years later, a golden core surrounded by 7 colored halos slowly rose from the furnace of the great path. It exploded with brilliant light like a small sun, illuminating the entire universe. The 9 transformations golden pill was completed. 9 refinements took 3,333 years and 3 months. The 9 transformations golden pill which represented the Tao of Qi Core, was finally refined by Qianqing. There was no need to announce it to the heavens. The moment the 9 transformations golden pill was completed, the Tao of heaven sensed it and looked down. In just an instant, Qianqing felt that he was enveloped by a great and vast will, and he felt powerless from the bottom of his heart. Under this force, even if he was already a golden immortal, he felt like an ant, and he'd lost all his divine abilities and was completely unable to arouse the thought of resisting. It was the Tao of heaven. At this moment, Qianqing turned pale. The will of the Tao of heaven that had just left came again, because in the untainted land, the only thing that could make Daluo Jinxian feel this way was the Tao of heaven. Unlike the previous time when the entire untainted land was alarmed, the arrival of the will of the heavenly Tao was completely silent and did not alarm too many people. Aside from Eastern Kunlun's 3 pure ones, Zhu Lin's true body under Qilin Cliff, and Western Kunlun's Queen Mother of the West, who sensed something in Kunlun Mountain, there was nothing else. The others didn't notice anything. The arrival of the will of the heavenly way was completely out of Qianqing's expectations. Although the Tao of Qi Core was extraordinary, it was still a small Tao after all. Its influence on the primordial world was limited. It was far inferior to setting a currency, which had a profound influence on the primordial world. Qianqing originally thought that the heavenly Tao would bestow some merit and luck. He would announce the birth of the Tao of Qi Core to the primordial world, and this matter would end. However, he had never expected that as soon as the Tao of Qi Core was formed, the will of the heavenly axiom would descend and appear near him, looking at him indifferently. This scared him to death. Could it be that there were still secrets about the way of Qi Core that he did not know? For a moment, Qianqing's thoughts ran wild. The feeling of being stared at by the heavenly Tao was not a good feeling. Even Daluo Jinxian did not feel good about it. Qianqing's heart was already in a mess. Otherwise, with Daluo Jinxian's cultivation, his state of mind should be as calm as still water without any ripples. How could he let his thoughts run wild? Thou hast contributed to the primordial world. Thou shalt be rewarded. Just when Qianqing was so nervous that he could not help but ask the heavenly Tao, the will of the heavenly Tao spoke. It was fine if he did not speak, but once he spoke, he wanted to reward Qianqing. Then, under Qianqing's surprised gaze, a purple brilliance surged out from the void and merged into the 36 heavens in his body. Of course, Qianqing recognized that purple brilliance. It was the origin of the heavenly Tao that the heavenly Tao had bestowed to Feng Zichen. The origin of the heavenly Tao entered his body and went all the way up along the first heavens, passing through layers of heavens and directly arriving at the 36th heavens, the supreme heaven, Daluo heaven. As soon as he arrived at the Daluo heaven, the origin of the heavenly Tao suddenly dispersed and turned into purple runes. They were endless and merged with the heavenly palace in the middle of the heavens. There, the strongest supernatural power in the 36 heavens was nurtured. Rumble. After the originally illusory heavenly palace merged with the runes formed by the origin of the heavenly Tao, it gradually turned from illusory to real and quickly evolved. Golden stone as the palace, white jade as the stairs, magnificent, there are phantoms of 10,000 spirits, dragons, phoenixes, chilants, all kinds of auspicious beasts. There were all kinds of them. They turned into Tao patterns, vivid and lifelike, imprinted on the walls of the palace. There were rules manifested surrounding the main hall, crowding him in the center, deducing the principles of the operation of heaven and earth, and endless Tao runes filled the air. This heavenly palace seemed to be at the top of the universe, high and mighty, looking down on everything. At the same time, it seemed to have become the center of heaven and earth, accepting the worship of all living beings in the primordial world. Above the tall and towering palace gate, there were 3 big words written with innate divine runes, Mi Luo Palace. This heavenly palace was called Mi Luo Palace. It was at the highest position of the 36 heavens, located in the Daluo heaven. It was eternal and all-encompassing. It was the supreme heaven that ruled over everything. In the myths of later generations, the Daluo heaven was the supreme heaven, and it was the residence of the Daluo Jinxian. And the Daluo Mi Luo Palace, if Xian Qing remembered correctly, was the residence of the Celestial Emperor. It was the place where he ruled the 6 heavens, and it was also the most honorable place in the primordial universe. What does this mean? Is it appointing me as the Celestial Emperor? Looking at the Mi Luo Palace in his body, Xian Qing couldn't help but make a bold guess. The incarnation of the origin of heaven, the top innate god-fiend in the primordial world, and the celestial lord of Xianmen, the first of the 3rd generation disciples. He could also sit on the throne of the Celestial Emperor. Otherwise, the heavenly Tao would symbolize the center of the universe's power. Why would the Mi Luo Palace, which ruled the heavens, manifest in the heaven realm in his body? Wasn't this intentionally appointing him as the Celestial Emperor? That was the Celestial Emperor, the highest position in the primordial world, the master of the universe in name. Everything in this world, whether it existed or not, whether it was life or death, or where it was under his rule. If an ordinary person could sit in this position, he would immediately have the strength second only to the saints. His status in name was even higher than that of the saints. In later generations, Hao Tian was called the Celestial Emperor, but he was actually a puppet. His position was really awkward. But when Tathagata saw him, he also had to bow and not dare to be disrespectful. When the 3 pure ones saw him, they also had to call him His Majesty to show respect. The Celestial Emperor was the master of the primordial world. His face was the face of the world. Disrespect to him was disrespect to the world. There would be a calamity, and no one was an exception. It was also because the power of the Celestial Emperor was too great that even the saints were afraid of him. That was why the 4 royals and 6 royals appeared one after another, taking away the power of the Celestial Emperor step by step. Chapter 259. Although Di Jun and Hao Tian were both celestial emperors, their natures were completely different. Di Jun had the strength that a celestial emperor should have, but because of the existence of Pangu's descendants, his position as the lord of the heavens and earth seemed to be a little unjustified. Hao Tian was the complete opposite of Di Jun. He, who had the strong support of Tao ancestor Hong Jun, rightfully sat on the position of celestial emperor. However, Hao Tian did not have the strength to match the position of celestial emperor, causing him to gradually be controlled by the saints in the future and become a puppet in name only. In the primordial world, strength was the most important. External forces were ultimately external forces, not as practical as one's own strength. Hao Tian's future situation was a true portrayal of virtue not matching the position. At this moment in Xian Qing's heart, he was already thinking about how to feign civility with the saints after he ascended the position of Celestial Emperor. Step by step, he would gradually get rid of the saints' control and become a true Celestial Emperor. At that time, the Celestial Emperor was him. The Great Emperor of Ziwei was him. The North Star Emperor was also him. The 4 royals occupied 2, and the 6 royals occupied 3. In this primordial world, who could shake his position and interfere with his rule? Even Tao ancestor Hong Jun could not. However, Xian Qing was obviously thinking too much. How could the position of Celestial Emperor be so easy? Di Jun had the merit of the sun star shining on the primordial world, which was why he could ascend the throne of Celestial Emperor. Hao Tian was not worthy of the position. After becoming Celestial Emperor, he had to enter the world to experience tribulations to accumulate merit. In the primordial world, he had experienced a total of 132 million tribulations. Each tribulation should have taken 129,600 years. In total, he had spent about 1 57 billion years before he achieved success and regained the position of the Celestial Emperor. He was limitless and immeasurable. From this, it could be seen how difficult it was to ascend to the position of Celestial Emperor. Xianqing's identity as a disciple of the Celestial Sect of Wonders was far from enough. To forcefully ascend to the position of Celestial Emperor, Hao Tian's fate was a lesson. A purple light flashed, allowing Xianqing to understand the function of Mi Luo Palace. The highest achievement of the 36 heavens, the supreme Mi Luo Palace. It controlled the rules of heaven and earth, ruled all the laws in the world, integrated into one, supreme, and destroyed all existence. This was the supreme power that belonged to the Celestial Emperor. At the initial stage, one could combine all the divine abilities in the world and combine them into one, erupting with unparalleled power. At the middle stage, one could control the laws of heaven and earth. When they attacked, it was as if heaven and earth were pressing down, destroying everything. In the later stages, he could command everything in the primordial world, regardless of whether it was people, objects, spells, or Tao. As long as it existed, it could be controlled. Its power was incomparable, its divine might inconceivable. That was why it was called a supreme, great divine ability. What a waste of joy! Xianqing was a little disappointed after learning about the function of Mi Luo Palace. Although this mystical ability was powerful and could be ranked in the top 10 in the primordial world, it was still far inferior to the position of Heavenly Emperor. The position of Celestial Emperor was a treasure that allowed one to ascend to the heavens in a single bound. It was also the most precious treasure in the primordial world. But fortunately, with encompassing Net Palace here, once the future Heavenly Emperor loses his position, we can rely on this palace to fight for it. After thinking about it, Xianqing comforted himself. In the primordial world, besides strength, status was also extremely important. Don't you see that those who occupy high positions all have extremely honorable backgrounds? The Magi did not respect the heavens and the earth. They only respected Pangu. Even Tao ancestor Hongjun was not in their eyes. Even so, the witch race still dominated the primordial world. Tao ancestor Hongjun did not dare to kill them. What was the reason? It was because they had the status of Panga's descendants. Relying on this status, the primordial world would naturally protect them and not let them encounter the calamity of death. If not for the fact that the witch race failed to live up to expectations and created endless killing and lost the protection of heaven and earth, how could the position of the protagonist of heaven and earth fall to the human race? Encompassing Net Palace was the most precious place in the primordial world. It was one of the symbols of the Heavenly Emperor. Since Xianqing controlled it, he naturally had the qualifications to fight for the position of Heavenly Emperor. Perhaps, with encompassing Net Palace, Xianqing could even obtain many supporters. After the origin of the Heavenly Tao descended, the will of the Heavenly Tao slowly retreated. At the same time, changes occurred in the sky above Kunlun Mountain again. Heaven and earth merit gathered and surged towards Xianqing. Before reaching Xianqing, the heaven and earth merit split into two. 30% landed on the 9 transformations golden core, and 70% continued to surge towards Xianqing. However, at this moment, Xianqing waved his sleeve and injected the merit that was surging towards him into the 9 transformations golden core. Suddenly, the 7-colored halo on the 9 transformations golden core became even brighter and turned into a divine ring that surrounded its body. The Tao runes flowing on its body also underwent a transformation. Mysterious runes were born and arranged layer by layer, combining with each other and turning into a mysterious connate Tao that merged with the 9 transformations golden core. At this moment, it was no longer a core, but a Tao. Its body carried a mysterious connate Tao. The name 9 transformations golden core was no longer suitable for it. Now it was a Tao fruit. The Daluo Tao fruit could create a Daluo Jinxian Tao fruit. The 9 transformations golden core, which originally contained powerful medicinal power, underwent an unimaginable transformation with the help of the heaven and earth merit and became a rare treasure in the world. The Daluo Dao fruit. This item may be of great use in the future. Xianqing could not think of a way to use the Daluo Dao fruit in such a short time, so he put it away and waited for the future. After that, with the help of the heavenly path, everything about the Tao of Qi core spread throughout the entire Eldritch land in an instant. Good. This is what a successor should be like. After understanding the essence of the Tao of Qi core, the 3 pure ones were overjoyed and could not help but praise. At this moment, Xianqing finally broke free from their influence and walked on his own Tao. His future was limitless, and he had the possibility of attaining the Tao of chaos. How could the 3 pure ones not be happy? If they followed the path of others, although they could progress smoothly and quickly, they would never achieve great things. Only by blazing one's path through brambles and thorns would one be able to walk further and longer. Hiss, how long has it been? It has only been about 3,000 years since the birth of the creation pill and the establishment of the Eldritch land currency. This Taoist Xianqing has also established the Tao of Qi core. This celestial lord of the Xian sect is really good at causing trouble. 3,000 years was just a blink of an eye for the great divines. But in the blink of an eye, Xianqing had established another Tao which made them suspicious. Since when did establishing a Tao become so simple? First, there was the sword ancestor, then there was Xianqing. These 2 are people of great wisdom. I wonder what changes they will bring to the Eldritch land. In just 10,000 years, the Eldritch land had undergone earth-shaking changes. First, there was the birth of the Tao of sword, then the Tao of currency and the Tao of Qi core. The changes were more intense than the previous tens of millions of years. I wonder what the future will be like. At this moment in the Eldritch land there was another change. Above Kunlun Mountain, endless merit gathered. Chapter 260. How could this be? What is Taoist Xianqing doing? Why is there no end to it? Looking at the merits above Kunlun Mountain, the great mediums were helpless. In the blink of an eye, the Xianhuang merit had descended 3 times. Could it be that the primordial heavenly path belonged to him? What's going on? Looking at the Xianhuang merit that was surging towards him, Xianqing was a little confused. He did not know where these merits came from. Originally, Xianqing had planned to leave the Xianqing Palace and go to the Jade Void Palace to visit the 3 pure ones and share his joy with them. But who knew that before he could move, boundless merit would suddenly descend from the sky, causing him to be a little surprised for a moment. This merit came out of nowhere, and it really made him a little confused. The great sage is merciful. Great sorrow and great wish. Save the suffering and save the suffering, infinite and boundless. Praise the 9 heavens immortals. The great sage is merciful. Great sorrow and great wish. Save the suffering and save the suffering and save the suffering, infinite and boundless. Praise the 9 heavens immortals. The great sage is merciful. Great sorrow and great wish. Save the suffering and save the suffering and save the suffering, infinite and boundless. Praise the 9 heavens immortals. Just as Xianqing was puzzled, the praises of all spirits suddenly sounded in his ears. One after another, it was incomparably grand. It was inexplicably moving and shook his heart. What's going on? Why is there the wish of all spirits coming? The sudden turn of events made Xianqing confused and shocked. Other than the Tao of currency and the Tao of Qi core, he did not do anything else. It was true that these 2 Taoists could obtain merit, but it was a little exaggerated to say that they could attract the gratitude of all spirits. Only the gratitude of all spirits from the bottom of their hearts could stimulate the power that was enough to shake everything in his heart. Obviously, the Tao of Qi core and the Tao of currency did not have this ability. No matter what Qianqing thought, the merit aura was still surging. It covered the sky and covered the earth, covering everything. Virtuous Qi was everywhere and nothing could be seen. Otherwise, with the strength of Daluo Jingxian and the strength of many great mediums, how could they not see what was going on? Rumble. More and more Xianhuang merits were accumulated. In the blink of an eye, it exceeded the capacity of Xianqing's body. It gushed out of his body and formed a golden cloud above Kunlun Mountain that covered an area of 1,000 miles. Moreover, as the number of merits increased, the auspicious cloud continued to expand, attracting the attention of countless people. Just like that, the golden auspicious clouds above Kunlun Mountain turned into a radius of 10,000 miles. The virtuous Qi in the sky gradually stopped, and the heavens regained their clarity. After careful calculation, the Xianhuang merit points that Xianqing obtained this time were no less than the merit points that he obtained when he created the Xiantian Sword Dao. That also meant that without him knowing, he had done something that was of great merit to all living beings and had an endless and far-reaching impact on the future of the primordial world. Otherwise, the heavenly Tao wouldn't have given him so much merit, and he wouldn't have obtained the power of all spirits. Spirit race. The moment Tianji became clear, Xianqing learned about the origin of the black-yellow merit. It was the race with the largest population and the least sense of existence in the untainted land, the spirit race. The spirit race was the general name of the primordial world's plants. Flowers, trees, mountains, rivers, spiritual herbs, immortal roots, and all the natural spirits of the primordial world could be called the spirit race. However, it was too difficult for a natural spirit to transform. Not only did it take a long time, but there were also countless calamities waiting for them. Every natural spirit was an extremely precious spiritual herb. It was needed to assist in cultivation, and it was even more needed to refine pills. As such, their fate could be imagined. Moreover, the higher the grade of the connate spirit root, the more difficult it was to transform. It was almost impossible for a top-grade connate spirit root to transform. All these reasons combined made the number of experts of the spirit race extremely small. There were very few Daluo Jingxian. There were almost none of them with top-grade combat strength. Oh, it wasn't that there weren't any. In terms of strength, the spirit race might not be weaker than the shamans and demons. That was because the spirit race had produced 2 primordial chaos experts. In this way, the shamans and demons without primordial chaos experts seemed to be inferior to the spirit race. They didn't dare to. Their success was due to primordial chaos, and their failure was also due to primordial chaos. How much providence was needed to support 2 primordial chaos experts? Therefore, the birth of 2 primordial chaos experts almost drained the spirit race's luck and foundation, causing the spirit race to completely decline. It had not recovered to this day. In the primordial world, the spirit race had ended up in such a miserable state. It might be related to this. Unfortunately, the origins of these 2 primordial chaos experts were complicated. Their thoughts were elsewhere, and they completely ignored the life and death of the spirit race, leaving it to fend for itself. Otherwise, with 2 primordial chaos experts, even if the spirit race could not become the protagonist of the world and rule the primordial world, it would not be difficult for them to become an overlord and watch the changes of time. Otherwise, how could they have ended up in such a miserable state? Of the 2 primordial chaos experts, one was the primordial chaos expert, Great Immortal Yangmei. His main body was one of the 10 great connate spirit roots of the primordial world, the hollow willow tree. His cultivation was unfathomable, and he was the first existence to reach the primordial chaos in the primordial world. He had achieved the Tao before the Tao ancestor. It was said that the Tao ancestor once fought with Yang Mei and used all his spiritual treasures, but he did not touch him at all. Instead, all his spiritual treasures were taken away by him, which greatly embarrassed him. From this, it could be seen how powerful great immortal Yang Mei was. Moreover, the predecessor of great immortal Yang Mei was even more terrifying. He was the space demon god, ranked second among the 3,000 chaos demon gods. His strength had reached an incredible level, second only to Pangu. Such a figure could not forget the chaos outside the realm. The primordial world was not in his eyes, so what was the spirit race? The second primordial chaos expert was a high and mighty saint. One of the top 10 primordial spiritual roots in the primordial world was the primordial Bodhi tree. He was the second sect master of the Western sect, Taoist Junti. Taoist Junti's thoughts were needless to say. He wanted to strengthen the Western sect and restore the prosperity of the ancient West. Just the Western sect alone made him feel a little powerless. How could he care about the life and death of the spirit race? This led to the current situation of the spirit race. Today, the spirit race thanks Xianqing because of the influence of the Tao of Qi core. With the birth of the Tao of Qi core, if people wanted to refine elixirs, they could also collect the primordial Qi to refine elixirs. In this way, countless spirit race could avoid the disaster of being destroyed and had a slight chance of becoming Tao. With a thought, countless people could be saved. Wouldn't that be immeasurable merit? Although Xianqing established the Tao of Qi core, he simply wanted to open another branch outside the traditional Tao of pills. He did not think so much at all. However, the heavenly Tao did things based on one's actions, not one's heart. As long as one did something with great merit, there would be Xianhuang merit, even if it was just unintentional. That was how Xianqing's merit came about. Chapter 261. Spiritual Venerable. Under the wishes of the Ling clan, Xianqing found that there was a new karmic rank on him. Spiritual Venerable, the Venerable of the Ling clan. With the Spiritual Venerable karmic rank, Xianqing's body immediately had a wonderful change. In his perception, the world was different. Everything had come alive and was releasing their emotions to their heart's content. Their happiness, anger, sorrow, and joy, and everything they had experienced in the past were all sensed by Xianqing. Even the things that happened here in the past were spied by Xianqing from the memories of all things. Listen to the sound of everything. This was a gift from the Ling clan, and it was also a supreme magic that only belonged to the spiritual venerable. What does the way of heaven mean? Does it want me to control all kinds of creatures with this karmic rank so that I can become the great emperor of the Eastern Pole? After experiencing the changes in his body, Xianqing thought with some doubts. The great emperor of the Eastern Pole, one of the 6 royals, was the lord of all kinds. He ruled all kinds of creatures and was one of the most honorable beings in the world. Of course, as one of the 6 royals, the power of the great emperor of the Eastern Pole was naturally not so simple. He was also one of the rulers of the underworld and a great saint who saved people from suffering. He had supreme power. However, these had nothing to do with Xianqing now. What he cared about was the meaning of the spiritual venerable karmic rank. Although the great emperor of the Eastern Pole had great power and many authorities, but the lord of all races was the foundation of his existence, and the authority of a spiritual venerable was part of his authority. Therefore, when the great emperor of the Eastern Pole was born, Xianqing, the spiritual venerable, was bound to be restrained by him. Either he was subordinate to him, or he gave up the spiritual venerable karmic rank. There was no third choice. However, Xianqing really didn't like to be subordinate to others. Xianqing was even more unwilling to give up what he got. Therefore, in order to not let himself be wronged, the position of the great emperor of the Eastern Pole was, he was definitely going to be the spiritual venerable karmic rank. In this way, It coincides with my plan to secretly control the heavenly court." With a smile, Xianqing hid the merit on his head and rushed to the Jade Palace. After making so many movements, no matter what, he had to explain it to the three Pure Ones, even though the three Pure Ones already knew everything. Because this was his duty as a disciple, just as Feng Zichen was in seclusion to refine the mortal Dao imperial court and Xianqing was visiting the three Pure Ones, a conspiracy against the shaman and demon races was slowly unfolding. On Mount Meru, Daoist Juani's heart stirred. He left the place and rushed towards the East Sea. Meanwhile, in the heavenly court, demon god Defeng was ordered by Di Jun to leave the heavenly court and head to the East Sea's Valley of Tang to reprimand the 10 demon princes. After the 6 sages attained the Tao, the Eastern Emperor Tai felt that his strength was insufficient. He pushed aside all mundane matters and focused on seclusion on the sun, hoping to step into the primordial chaos Tao realm as soon as possible. As such, the matter of teaching the 10 golden crows was naturally put aside. As the celestial emperor, Di Jun had to maintain the operation of heaven and earth. He was too busy to find the time to discipline the 10 golden crows. In order to give birth to the 10 golden crows, Shiha's origin was damaged. She had no choice but to return to the lunar star to recuperate in seclusion. As for Fushi, Kuan Peng, and the demon gods of the heavenly court, they all had important matters to attend to and had no time to teach the 10 golden crows. Helpless, Di Jun could only leave the 10 golden crows to the palace maids. However, the palace maids had limited talent and low status. The highest cultivation level among them was only Tai Jingxian. When facing the 10 golden crows, it was already extraordinary that they could barely maintain their composure. How would they dare to criticize the 10 golden crows? As a result, the 10 golden crows became lawless. The 10 golden crows were bored in the heavenly court and wanted to go to the primordial world to take a look. They ignored the palace maid's obstruction and rushed towards the southern heavenly gate. The golden crows were the spirits of the sun. Their bodies were covered in true sun fire that could burn the sky and boil the sea. They were extremely powerful. This was especially so for the 10 golden crows. As they were born and not born naturally from the sun star, they should not be so powerful. However, Shiha was eager to love her son. When the 10 golden crows were still in the gestation stage, she did not hesitate to exhaust her own origin. She used the extreme yin to generate yang to forcefully strengthen their origin. With this help, after the 10 golden crows were born, their innate origin was sufficient. They were all innate god fiends and were not inferior to the gods born naturally from the sun star. However, there were gains and losses. Although the 10 golden crows had obtained strength that far exceeded their own, they had also paid a price. Before Daluo Jingxian, they were unable to fully control their own strength, causing the true sun fire to leak out and keep people away. Therefore, if the 10 golden crows ran to the primordial world rashly, the true sun fire emitted from their bodies would cause a terrible disaster to the primordial world. Unfortunately, the 10 golden crows were noble. Even if the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals had the strength to take them down, who would dare to do so? Fortunately, when the 10 golden crows were about to rush out of the southern heavenly gate, Kuan Peng returned to the heavenly court because of Feng Zichen and bumped into them. The heavenly generals did not dare to attack the 10 golden crows, but Kuan Peng did not have such scruples. He immediately took them down and brought them to Di Jun for him to deal with. Di Jun was very angry about the 10 golden crows' actions. He immediately locked the 10 golden crows in the Tang Valley. They were not allowed to come out until their cultivation was Daluo Jinxian's. Demon god Defeng went out of the southern heavenly gate. After confirming the direction, he flew straight to the East Sea. However, just as he was about to reach the East Sea, a 7-colored light suddenly appeared in the void and enveloped him. But strangely, Defeng did not seem to notice the abnormality around him. He continued to rush to the Tang Valley without looking back. This seven-colored light was naturally formed by Taoist Juanti. Otherwise, with the strength of demon god Defeng and Daluo Jingxian, how could he not notice the abnormality? Only a saint could do something like that. The Tang Valley, the legendary place where the sun rises. Of course, this was only a legend in the future. Since ancient times, the sun star had always been high above the 9 heavens. It had never changed. Naturally, there would not be a place where the sun rises and sets. The so-called place where the sun rises was just a misunderstanding caused by the 10 golden crows playing here. They were seen by others and spread false rumors over countless years. Open! Outside the Tang Valley, Defeng took out the token given to him by Dijun and drew in the void. Suddenly, the void was like the surface of the water undulating. Innate formation patterns appeared and entangled with each other, gradually forming a passage. This formation was called the Halua Formation. It was specially set up by Dijun to prevent the 10 golden crows from sneaking out. Walking along the passageway, the first thing that greeted them was a towering mulberry tree that blocked out the sun. This was the largest branch of the innate Fusang tree, one of the 10 great innate spiritual roots of the primordial world. It was cut down by Dijun and placed in the Tang Valley for the 10 golden crows to rest. Chapter 262. Defeng of the Demon Clan greets the 10 princes. Under the mulberry tree, Defeng bowed slightly and said, "It's Defeng. The demon god Defeng is here. Father sent someone to see us." On the mulberry tree, the 10 golden crows heard the commotion and flew to Defeng, shouting excitedly, "Defeng, Defeng! Did Imperial Father send you here to let us out, or to bring us back to the heavenly court? The Valley of Tang is too small and too boring. It's not fun at all. It's far less lively than the heavenly court." The 10 golden crows scrambled to ask as they came to Defeng. Obviously, the time in the Valley of Tang had suffocated them. "No." Defeng shook his head and replied, "His Majesty sent me to urge you to cultivate well and strive to advance to the realm of Daluo Jingxian as soon as possible. Ah, it's not to let us out." Hearing this, the big golden crow said with disappointment, his expression full of depression, "A golden immortal of the great firmament. How many years would it take to step into that realm? 100,000 years? 1,000,000 years? How many years had it been since they were born? It had only been a few 100,000 years, not even as old as Fengzichen. But now they had to wait bitterly in a small place like the Valley of Tang for tens of millions of years. How could these young golden crows endure this? Father is really too much. We just wanted to go to the primordial world to take a look. We didn't do anything, and he directly locked us in the Valley of Tang, not allowing us to leave this place. This is too much." The 10 golden crows muttered in dissatisfaction. Defeng was speechless. These little ancestors really did not know how many sins they would commit if they went to the primordial world for a tour, and how much karma they would attract. At that time, even if they were the sons of the Celestial Emperor, they would not be able to escape the calamity of death. No one would be able to save them. "Your Highness, don't say that. His Majesty is doing this for your own good." At this moment, an undetectable 7-colored light suddenly appeared on Defeng's body, causing him to be in a daze. When he came back to his senses, the words that he wanted to describe the pros and cons of the 10 golden crows became words of provocation. The princes are still too young. They do not know the dangers of the primordial world and His Majesty's painstaking efforts. In the untainted land there is a great evil of the world, the sorcerer tribe. They are extremely ferocious. They feed on us demons and dominate the untainted land. Even His Majesty could do nothing to them. He could only retreat to the heavenly court and use Zhouxing as a barrier to resist them. What? How is this possible? We demons have the heavenly courts. Who in the primordial world can compare to us? My uncle is the strongest in the primordial world. He can even suppress a saint. How powerful is the Magi? How can they be above us demons? Before De Fong could finish, the 10 golden crows angrily interrupted him. After all, the 10 golden crows were still young, so Di Jun would naturally not mention the Wu tribe in front of them. As for the palace maids, it was even more impossible for them to talk about the Wu tribe. They would only choose to talk about something nice. Therefore, ever since the 10 golden crows were born, they had been living in the illusion that the demon clan was invincible in the untainted world. Now, they suddenly heard that there was an even more powerful wizard clan above the demon clan. As such, they could not accept it at once. Their mentality exploded on the spot. Damn the Wu tribe! How dare they feed on us demons? They really deserve to die. When we come out, we will kill them all and clear the name of our demon clan. Flying in the air, the 10 golden crows said hatefully. Ha! At this moment, De Fong suddenly laughed. Demon deity De Fong, why are you laughing? Did we say something wrong? De Feng's attitude angered the golden crows, and they questioned him. I'm laughing at your highness' naivety. The Wu tribe is powerful. Even His Majesty does not dare to fight with them. Your highness's cultivation is not as good as Daluo Jinxian's. What gives you the confidence to say that you want to destroy the Wu tribe? Aren't you boasting? Under the influence of the 7-colored light, De Fong seemed to have changed into a different person. He said all kinds of outrageous words in the air, constantly provoking the 10 golden crows. De Fong, how dare you? Do you know what you're saying? With the arrogant temperament of the 10 golden crows, they could not stand De Feng's mockery. They immediately shouted at him, their eyes sharp and full of killing intent. If it were not for his identity as a demon deity, they would have torn him to pieces on the spot. There is no doubt that the 10 golden crows had the ability to kill Daluo Jinxian. As the sons of Di Jun, they had many magic treasures and countless trump cards. There was no lack of means to kill Daluo. You can't stand it? Then do you know why His Majesty has locked you up here? It's because the Wu tribe has spread the word that they want to capture you as snacks. His Majesty is afraid and has to hide you in the Valley of Tang to prevent any accidents from happening to you. If His Majesty is not afraid of the Wu tribe, he would have destroyed them after the Wu tribe spread the word. Why would he let you hide here? At this moment, De Fong had completely lost his mind and was completely influenced by Kundi. His every move was according to his thoughts. Ah, how dare you! What a disgrace! I want to destroy the Wu tribe. At this moment, the 10 golden crows' eyes were red and their bodies were full of killing intent. The sun's genuine fire rolled out and burned the void until it was distorted. If it were any other time, De Feng's nonsense would not have been able to fool the 10 golden crows. However, with Kundi present, De Fong was not the only one who was bewitched. The strength of the 10 golden crows was only Tai Jinxian. It was much easier for Kundi to play with their minds than for De Fong. Let's go out and have a look. Let's see what the Wu tribe is capable of. How dare they treat us as snacks? The more they thought about it, the angrier they became. The 10 golden crows shouted at the same time and suddenly merged into one huge golden crow. This was the divine sense of the 10 golden crows. As they were of the same origin, they could merge into one and temporarily raise their strength to a higher level. In other words, this huge golden crow had the strength of Daluo Jinxian. Caw! With a long caw, the golden crow moved and suddenly came in front of De Fong. It snatched Di Jun's token from his hand, opened the formation, and left the Valley of Tang. It flew straight to the untainted land. Oh no, this is a disaster! As the 10 golden crows left, Defong felt a strong sense of danger and recovered a trace of clarity. At this moment, he could not care less and hurriedly chased after the 10 golden crows. After all, Defong was too influenced by Kundi and lost his former wisdom. Otherwise, he would have returned to the heavenly court and asked Dijun for help instead of chasing after the 10 golden crows. However, the golden crow left the valley of Tang and directly turned into a long rainbow, disappearing in the blink of an eye. The rainbow transformation technique was the divine sense of the golden crows. In terms of speed, it could be ranked in the top 3 in the untainted land. Defong could not easily catch up with it. Chapter 263. Tai, the poor way of the past made me lose face. Today, the poor way will give you retribution. Your Golden Crow clan will have no descendants. After Defong left, Taoist Juanti's figure slowly appeared in the void. When he received Juanti to become a saint, it should have been the most glorious moment of his life. However, they were humiliated by Donghuang Tai and achieved his supreme reputation. He was completely reduced to the background. At that time, Taoist Juanti secretly swore to give Donghuang Tai retribution. Now, retribution had come. In this world, what was more painful than the tragic death of one's family and the destruction of one's life's efforts? Kill the golden crows and destroy the demon race. This was what Juanti did. Above the East Sea, a golden rainbow flew away. Wherever it passed, the seawater evaporated, and the aquatic creatures turned into ashes. It was unknown how many people it had killed. However, the golden rainbow was too fast. When the mighty figures of the East Sea looked over, it had already disappeared. In the human clan's ancestral hall, Feng Zichen, who was refining the human Tao imperial court, suddenly had an ominous premonition. It became more and more intense, waking him up. What happened? From this premonition, Feng Zichen vaguely sensed that something big was going to happen in the primordial world. Its influence was far beyond imagination. Yes, it's the golden crows. The 10 golden crows are traveling in the primordial world. Is the great shaman-demon war about to begin? Separating a strand of divine thought, Feng Zichen looked outside. What he saw was a golden rainbow flying over. With his eyesight, how could he not recognize the origin of the golden rainbow? It was the 10 golden crows, the sons of the celestial emperor. The 10 of them are really Dijun's good sons. Looking at the 10 golden crows flying over, Feng Zichen sighed. Although the shamans and demons had a deep grudge, after so many years of fighting, they gradually reached a balance. The demons controlled the sky, and the shamans controlled the earth. The 2 races lived in peace for a long time, and the primordial world ushered in a long time of peace. However, the 10 golden crows destroyed this great situation. This completely ignited the hatred between the shamans and demons, leading to an unprecedented war between the 2 races. That is the Second World War of the Liches, the final battle of the Liches. It could be said that the 10 golden crows traveling to the primordial world was the fuse for everything. Everything happened because of this. The exciting years of ups and downs in the future were also pulled open because of this. At this moment, looking at the 10 golden crows, Feng Zichen could not help but feel as if he was witnessing history, and his heart was indescribably excited. Not good, humans. Suddenly, Feng Zichen thought of something and could not help but cry out. He no longer cared about refining the royal court and left the ancestral shrine with a flash. Wherever the golden crow passed, the power of the grand sun true fire would be unleashed and wreak havoc, causing the earth to be scorched and the rivers to dry up. What would happen if they were to pass by the human race? Although the East Sea was protected by Nua's enchantment, there was no need to worry about the grand sun primordial fire. However, the human cities outside the ancestral land did not have such good treatment. If they were unlucky and happened to be in the path of the golden crow, they would probably be burned to ashes by the grand sun true fire in an instant. 5 Emperors Canopy. Outside the ancestral land, Feng Zichen's mind moved, and the 5 qi in his body surged and flew out of his body, forming a huge 5-colored canopy in the air. This time, the Emperor's shadows imprinted on the 5 Emperors' canopy were no longer the 5 elements sacred beasts, but the 5 elements demon gods, the 5 chaos demon gods. Therefore, as soon as the 5 Emperors' canopy appeared, it connected to the connate 5 elements Tao. No, not connected, but requisitioned. As the 5 elements demon god roared, he actually forcibly requisitioned the power of the connate 5 elements Tao, pulling it out from the underworld and circling it around his body. This was the first time Feng Zichen used the 5 Emperors' great mystique after confirming Daluo Jinxin's Tao. He did not expect that after not using it for a long time, the 5 Emperors' great mystique would transform to such an extent. It would not be an exaggeration to call it a great Tao mystique. At this moment, the 5 Emperors' canopy was the Tao, the connate 5 elements Tao. Under the powerful power of the 5 elements demon god, it temporarily replaced the existence of the connate 5 elements Tao. It was clearly in front of Feng Zichen, but it was omnipresent. This was the magic of the connate Tao. It was compatible with the origin of heaven and earth, and it was omnipresent in the primordial world. The moment the 5 Emperors' canopy replaced the connate 5 elements Tao, almost at the same time, the figures of the 5 Emperors' canopy appeared in the sky above all the cities and tribes of the human race. Streams of 5 elemental qi descended, protecting them within. In the sky above the East Sea, 10 golden crows passed by with long golden tails. Specks of golden light floated down from the sky and fell to the ground. That was the true sun fire. Every speck could burn a Tai Jinxian to death. It was extremely terrifying. Fortunately, the East Sea was protected by the barriers set up by Niwa. Before the true sun fire could fall, it was destroyed by Niwa's barrier in midair. Otherwise, the human race would have suffered great losses. The other territories of the human race were protected by the 5 Emperors' canopy, so they did not need to worry about the true sun fire. All the humans outside listened to my order. From now on, rush back to the ancestral land. No mistakes. Seeing the 10 golden crows leave, Feng Zichen gave the order. Next would be the fall of the golden crows and the war between the liches and the demons. That was a war that would affect the entire primordial world. If they stayed outside, wouldn't they be courting death? The 10 golden crows flew all the way, completely ignoring the lives of the people on the way. Their rationality was blinded by anger, and there was only one thought in their mind. Kill all the sorcerer tribe. Kill, kill, kill. Haha, how satisfying. How can the sorcerer tribe compete with us demons? With such strength, how dare they say that they are going to treat us as snacks? How ridiculous. In a certain sorcerer tribe, the 10 golden crows looked at the sorcerer tribe struggling in the true sun fire and laughed wildly. Their words were full of contempt. However, they who had been bewitched by Kundi did not know that they had the power of a golden immortal of the great all-embracing heaven, while the Wu tribe below them was just a group of primordial unity golden immortals. Bullying the weak, Daluo Jinxian killed Tai Jinxian. What was there to be proud of? Seeing that the sorcerer tribe was so weak, the 10 golden crows became more confident. They continued to fly forward, looking for new sorcerer tribes and repeating their actions. In this way, the 10 golden crows relied on the power of Daluo Jinxian to run amok and destroy more than a dozen sorcerer tribes. The 10 golden crows' wild actions naturally attracted the attention of the sorcerer tribe experts. Hey, how dare you bully my people, feathered beast? Take my staff. Just as the 10 golden crows were looking for the sorcerer tribes, a huge peach staff suddenly appeared in the void and struck towards them. It was the great sorcerer of the Hutu tribe, Kwafu. "How dare you, barbarian? How dare you humiliate me like this?" Hearing the words feathered beast, the 10 golden crows' eyes instantly turned red. Terrifying killing intent filled the air, and the true sun fire swept out to meet the peach staff. Chapter 264. Rumble. Terrifying power spread out, shattering the void and causing pitch-black cracks to appear. Kwafu was not the real Daluo Jinxian, so the 10 golden crows were no match for him. The mahogany staff smashed the primordial fire of the sun and hit the 10 golden crows. With a bang, the giant golden crows shattered and turned back into 10 golden crows. Hiss! This barbarian is so powerful. Brothers, set up the formation. In the sky, the 10 golden crows knew that their opponent was far more powerful than them. He was the most powerful enemy they had ever met. Without hesitation, they used their most powerful means. 10 suns, burning sky formation, start! With a roar, the 10 golden crows flapped their wings and formed an inexplicable formation in the sky. They attracted the power of the sun and enveloped Kwafu. The 10 suns burning sky formation was a congenital formation created by Di, Jun, and Fushi for the 10 golden crows. Once the formation was activated, it could attract the power of the sun to burn the sky and boil the sea, destroying the world. Even if Daluo Jinxian fell into the formation, he would be in danger of being burned if he could not escape in time. However, Kwafu was different. As a grand wizard and a descendant of Pango, Daluo Jinxian was no match for him. "You are courting death. You are the son of the celestial emperor, the elves of the sun and born gods. Instead of benefiting the untainted land, you have killed hundreds of millions of creatures here. You deserve to die." Kwafu shook his body and showed his true form of a grand wizard. Standing on the ground, his power was endless. No matter how fierce the primordial fire of the sun was, it could not hurt him at all. However, the 10 suns burning sky formation was really powerful. Although it could not hurt Kwafu, it trapped him firmly in the formation. He could not break free and hurt the 10 golden crows. "You have committed such a big crime. Everyone in the untainted land has the right to kill you. Your father's face has been completely disgraced by you." Trapped in the formation, Kwafu used all his means but could not break free. He could not help but curse the 10 golden crows in the sky. "Barbarian of the wizard tribe, you." At this moment, the 10 golden crows understood that they had made a huge mistake. Therefore, he was speechless in the face of Kwafu's accusation. "Brothers, kill him. Let's join forces to kill this barbarian of the shaman race before returning to the heavenly court to ask for Father's forgiveness. With Imperial Father's ability, he will definitely be able to solve this problem for us." Now that things had come to this, there was no point in regretting. Now, even if the 10 gold crows wanted to leave, Kwafu would not agree. He would definitely kill them here to avenge the dead Wu tribesmen. "All right, let's kill him first. This shaman barbarian's words are so unpleasant to hear. Killing him will help us vent our anger." Having made up their minds, the 10 golden crows opened their mouths and spat out their innate origin, activating the 10 suns burning sky formation with all their might. This caused the formation's operation to speed up, causing it to undergo many changes. Boom! 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 Inside the matrix, the primordial fire of the sun surged even more violently. The horrifying power spread out, igniting the void and turning it into a destructive storm, burning toward Kwafu. In that instant, nothing existed anymore. Everything burned into nothingness. Haha, good timing. While laughing, Kwafu stomped the ground hard. Instantly, the mountains and rivers within hundreds of millions of miles trembled together. Magnificent and heavy power gathered together, forming a yellow light curtain around Kwafu. blocking the raging primordial fire of the sun. The 10 gold crows were not surprised that the primordial fire of the sun could not hurt Quafu. After all, he was Daluo Jinxian. It would be strange if they could kill him so easily. Kill! A golden mirror appeared in the middle of the formation, shining like the sun. Driven by the 10 golden crows, it shot out beams of divine light of the sun toward Quafu. This was the divine sun mirror, an ultimate primordial spiritual treasure bred by the sun star. It had always been kept by Dijun. It was not until the 10 gold crows were born that he took it out and gave it to the 10 gold crows to protect themselves. Quafu was not afraid. He swung his peachwood staff and swept it forward. Tremendous power poured out, extinguishing the divine sunlight that was surging toward him. Then Quafu stuck the peachwood staff into the ground. With a flash of green light, the peachwood staff grew in the wind. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a towering peach tree, supporting the whole matrix. Its roots danced and took root in the primordial fire of the sun, absorbing its power and weakening the matrix. Unfortunately, although Quafu's idea was good, the 10 suns burning sky matrix was supported by the sun star, and its power was endless. No matter how much power the peachwood staff absorbed, it could not shake its foundation. For a moment, the two sides were in a stalemate. Brother, this blockhead is so strong. His power is connected to the ley lines of the earth. Standing on the ground, he is invincible. If this continues, I'm afraid we'll be exhausted to death by him. Quafu was Daluo Jinxian, so he had the confidence to continue. But the 10 gold crows were not. When their power was exhausted, they would not be able to maintain the matrix. When the matrix was exhausted, their death would come. Therefore, seeing the situation in a stalemate, the gold crows could not help but panic. We can't go on like this. Since the barbarian is connected to the ground, let's drag him into the air. Let's see if he dies. Suddenly, the youngest gold crow suggested, Okay, that's a good idea. Little 10, you are so smart. When the other 9 gold crows heard that, they all thought that it was a good idea and praised the youngest gold crow. Then they used their strength together to drive the 10 suns burning sky matrix. They swept up tens of thousands of feet of flames and flew up with Quafu, trying to drag him into the air. However, trapping Quafu was already the limit of the 10 suns burning sky matrix. It was impossible to lift him up. Moreover, the body of a wizard contained a large amount of connate turbid chi. It was extremely heavy and could not be moved easily. Therefore, the 10 gold crows used all their strength and their faces turned red, but they could not drag Quafu at all. Ha! You little birds want to pull me up? Ridiculous! Do you really think you are Jun Tai? You've completely disgraced your father and uncle. At this moment, Quafu also felt that something was wrong. His words were extremely sharp, and he was very different from his honest appearance before. Obviously, Quafu also fell into the trap. Compared to the demon race, it was easier to control the wizard race. At this moment, the 10 gold crows were about to go crazy. The true sun fire on their bodies whooshed out, and they wanted to swallow Quafu alive. How dare you, wizard race! Don't you dare hurt our prince! Seeing that it was almost time, Zhuani finally let Defeng find this place. Prince, don't worry. I'm coming. Seeing that the situation was critical, Defeng did not have time to chat. He hurriedly used his magic and blew a gust of wind toward Quafu in the matrix. Great Gale was an innate god born from the innate wind origin. In the Tao of Wind, Great Gale had extraordinary achievements. Chapter 265. The 10 golden crows could not move Quafu. The 9 heavens astral wind whizzed out and turned into a whirlwind. It wrapped Quafu up and lifted him into the air. Oh no! Kwafu knew something was wrong when he saw himself leaving the ground. He quickly recalled his peach wood staff and swung it forward with all his strength. The Wu tribe had the best physical body in the primitive world. Naturally, their strength was also the best. Under Kwafu's staff, the void shattered, the 5 elements were destroyed, and yin and yang ceased to exist. Earth, fire, water, and wind intertwined. The destructive aura surged and shattered the 9 heavens' astral wind. However, how could the 10 golden crows let Kwafu return to the ground when they finally lifted him up? Seizing the opportunity, the 10 golden crows activated the divine sun mirror and hit the ground. Without Kwafu's suppression, how could the surrounding mountains and rivers resist the power of the golden crows? In an instant, tens of thousands of miles of mountains and rivers were turned into ashes. Without the support of the earth, Kwafu's strength fell sharply. He could no longer resist the surging sun, primordial fire. In just a moment, his body was burned black. He was in a sorry state. After all, he was Daluo Jinxian. How could he die so easily? The sun, primordial fire, only damaged Kwafu's physical body. It could not hurt him at all. It was far from enough to kill him. Barbarian of the Wu tribe, how dare you be so arrogant? Seeing Kwafu's sorry state, the 10 golden crows were very proud. They turned to Defeng and said, "Defeng, stop this barbarian so that we can use our secret treasures to kill him." As the sons of the celestial emperor, the 10 golden crows were not short of treasures. However, they were obsessed with Kundi and did not think about it. Now that they had calmed down, they thought about their own treasures. Okay, Defeng took out a long green banner and waved it at Kwafu. The long banner was called the Innate Wind Banner. It was Defeng's spiritual treasure. It was an upper-grade innate treasure that could release innate divine wind. The innate divine wind whizzed out and turned into green chains, locking Kwafu firmly. No matter how hard he struggled, he could not move. "Your Highness, do it quickly. Kwafu's strength is extraordinary. I can't hold on for long." After suppressing Kwafu, Defeng hurriedly shouted to the 10 golden crows. They were both Daluo Jinxian. Without the help of the 10 sun-burning sky formation, it was hard to say who would be the one suppressing the other. "Hey, go die!" Sneering, the golden crow took out a silver needle and stabbed it toward Kwafu. Above the silver needle, the Khanate Tayin origin chi flowed. It released a shocking chill that seemed to be able to freeze the world. This was the Tayin Ice Soul Needle, a supreme treasure created by Siha using the essence of the Tayin star. It contained the Tao of Tayin and could freeze all things and kill all life. Such a treasure could only be refined once every 100 million years. It was a rare treasure in the primordial world that could kill Daluo Jinxian. In front of the Tayin Ice Soul Divine Needles, the physical body that the sorcerer tribe was so proud of had completely lost its function. It was like a rag that was easily pierced through. In an instant, Kwafu's expression froze. His body stiffened, and he was frozen into an ice sculpture. A terrifying Khanate chill spread out and wiped out all life in his body. Then, the Khanate chill spread up and wiped out Kwafu's Khanate indestructible true spirit. Just like that, a grand sorcerer, a powerhouse who dominated the primordial world, silently died here. "Your Highness, Kwafu has been killed. The sorcerer tribe will not let this matter rest. We should leave as soon as possible to avoid any accidents." The land was the territory of the sorcerer tribe. If they killed the grand sorcerer here, when the sorcerer tribe experts arrived, they would not be able to escape. No one could save them. The heavenly court. They had to return to the heavenly court immediately. Only by returning to the heavenly court could they be considered safe. However, before they could do anything, a black arrow suddenly shot out from the void. It directly pierced through the 3 golden crows and killed them on the spot. "Ah, third brother, third brother." "Who?" This sudden scene left everyone dumbfounded. After a while, the golden crows finally reacted to what had happened and roared with their eyes wide open. On the other side, Defeng's face turned pale. The 3 golden crows were dead. The son of the celestial emperor was dead in front of him. This was a big deal. Hou-yi, you deserve to die. The golden crows could not recognize the origin of the black arrow, but Defeng, who had dealt with the sorcerer tribe for many years, could recognize the origin of this object. That arrow was the Xianming arrow. It was the personal treasure of the grand sorcerer, Hou-yi. The identity of the person was self-evident. He was one of the strongest sorcerer tribe, Hou-yi. Since the establishment of the demon tribe, Hou-yi's hands were stained with the blood of countless demon tribe members. Even several demon gods had died in his hands. He was the strongest among the Daluo. He was the top Daluo Jinxian below the sage-to-be. Hou-yi's name was enough to make countless demon tribe tremble in fear. Puff! Another black arrow appeared and pierced through the 4 golden crows, taking away their lives. This was Hou-yi's response to Defeng. So what if you are the son of the celestial emperor? How dare you kill the grand sorcerer of the sorcerer tribe? Ah, bastard! Defeng felt like he was going crazy. In front of him, another son of the celestial emperor had died. What was Hou-yi doing? Was he forcing the demon tribe to wage a full-scale war against the sorcerer tribe? Now that things had come to this, Defeng knew that even if he returned to the heavenly court, Di-jun would not let him go. It was better to fight to the death and fight for a chance of survival for the little golden crows. He could ask for Di-jun's forgiveness and resurrect him in the future. Hou-yi, I'll fight you to the death. With a decision in his heart, Defeng burned everything he had in exchange for unparalleled power and charged toward Hou-yi. Hou-yi was a figure on the level of one of the 10 great demon gods. He was far from what Defeng could compare to. If he wanted to save someone from his hands, he could only fight with his life. Your Highness, return to the heavenly court quickly. His Majesty is there. He will definitely protect you. While charging toward Hou-yi, Defeng did not forget to remind him. However, before he could finish speaking, another 2 golden crows were shot to death by Hou-yi. Go! With a roar of grief and indignation, Defeng woke up the little golden crows who were in a daze. Go quickly! Run to the heavenly court! At this moment, the golden crows finally knew fear. The tragic deaths of their 4 brothers made them angry, but at the same time, they also felt a strong sense of fear. Since they were going to die, what about them? With a shudder, the golden crows hurriedly flapped their wings and flew quickly toward the heavenly court. Run, run quickly! Run to the heavenly court and let Father avenge them. At this moment, this was the only thought left in the golden crows' minds. Humph! You still want to escape? You must be dreaming. You killed the grand sorcerer of the sorcerer tribe, destroyed the untainted land, and killed hundreds of millions of living beings. All of these sins can only be repaid with your lives. Seeing that the golden crows were about to escape, Hou-yi said coldly, Chapter 266. The Xianming arrow was the most precious treasure of the Xianming tribe. It was made from the bones of the Xianming ancestral witch. There were only 10 arrows in the world. The Xianming ancestral witch was the rain ancestral witch, the winter god and the north god. He was in charge of the ice and snow of the primitive world. Therefore, the Xianming arrow made from the bones of the Xianming clan was one of the best treasures in the world. It was also the nemesis of the golden crows. Anyone who touched it would die. Hou-yi was different from Quafu. He was a witch born from Panga's blood. He was the first witch. He was of noble birth and was far from ordinary connate god-fiends. Even an ordinary sage-to-be might not be his match, let alone Defeng, who was not even ranked in the demon race. Scram! After sending Defeng flying with a punch, Hou-yi continued to draw his bow and shoot 3 arrows in the direction of the golden crow's escape. Swoosh! 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 Amidst whooshing sounds, 3 more golden crows were killed by Hou-yi. Hou-yi, the god of archery, never missed. Hou-yi's arrows had surpassed the level of skill and reached the level of Tao. If he went one step further, he would be like Feng Zichen, who established the Khanate sword Tao. He could imprint the Tao of archery into the origin of heaven and earth, turning the acquired Tao into the Khanate Tao. Such an expert could easily kill the little golden crows. Not to mention, he was holding the nemesis of the golden crows, the Xianming arrow. Today, the 10 golden crows were doomed. No, 7 golden crows died tragically. De Feng had already expected his end. He could not help but despair. Hou-yi, let's die together. After a while, seeing Hou-yi aiming his bow at the remaining golden crows, De Feng gritted his teeth and rushed to Hou-yi's side. He exploded. It's useless. Hou-yi stood in the center of the explosion and did not move. He allowed the power of De Feng's explosion to hit his body. At this moment, the powerful physical body of the sorcerer tribe was fully displayed on his body. Grand Witch Kwafu, I've avenged you. With that thought in mind, Hou-yi loosened his grip on the bow. Suddenly, 3 black arrows shot out. Their targets were the remaining 3 golden crows. My son! In the numinous sky hall, Di-jun suddenly screamed and vomited a mouthful of blood. Then, under the panicked gazes of the demons in the hall, he suddenly disappeared. The 10 golden crows had accidents, one after another. The secrets of heaven that had been concealed by Zhuan-Ti could no longer be hidden from Di-jun's perception and were detected by him. That was why the current scene was happening. The Xianming arrow was extremely fast. A black light flashed by, and the 2 golden crows died on the spot. Second brother, on the other side, the golden crow couldn't help but cry out sorrowfully when he saw that another of his 2 remaining younger brothers had been killed. At the same time, he also noticed that there was a black arrow coming from behind him and his 10th brother. Little brother, you have to survive. Imperial father, please take care of Imperial mother. After taking one last look at the sun star, the golden crow ignited its origin and drove the sun god mirror. It was like a small sun as it collided with the Xianming arrow that was shot towards the golden crows, blocking the fatal blow for him. You have to survive. With that last sentence, the golden crow completely disappeared from the world, leaving nothing behind. Big brother! This scene made the golden crow's eyes almost pop out of their sockets. He wanted to immediately turn back and fight Hou-yi, but he couldn't. The golden crow used his life in exchange for a chance to escape. He couldn't let the golden crow's sacrifice be in vain. He had to survive and escape back to the heavenly court to avenge his brothers. Resisting the urge to turn back, the 10 golden crows used all their strength to activate the rainbow transformation technique and flew back to the heavenly court. He was afraid that once he turned back, he couldn't help but fight Hou-yi to the death. This golden crow is quite decisive. However, he still has to die. Hou-yi called back the Xianming arrow, drew the longbow and shot an arrow. Let's see who can save you this time, Hou-yi said as he put down the Hou-yi bow. My life is over. Under this arrow, the 10 golden crows only felt that no matter where they were, they couldn't dodge this arrow. There was really no escape and no way to avoid it. The shadow of death uncontrollably crept into their hearts. And just as the Xianming arrow was about to hit the 10 golden crows, a golden figure suddenly appeared in front of the 10 golden crows and grabbed the Xianming arrow. At the critical moment, Di-jun finally arrived. In the end, the 10 golden crows weren't fated to die. With the protection of the sun star, even though the golden crows had killed so many people, they still had a chance to live. The 10 golden crows, 9 out of 10, just happened to meet their fate and meet the will of the heavens. My poor children, looking at the 8 golden crow corpses on the ground. Di-jun seemed to be crying and laughing at the same time. He was clearly extremely sad. Wah! Father, Big Brother, and the others are all dead. In order to save me, Big Brother even burned his origin and returned to the embrace of the Sun Star. Nothing is left of him. Father, you have to avenge Big Brother and the others. Seeing June, the 10 Golden Crows' fear was finally released. They couldn't help but cry out to June, "Don't cry. You are the crown prince of the demon race. How can you cry?" Looking at the remaining 10 Golden Crows, June said sternly, "It was all because he spoiled the Golden Crows too much that today's disaster was caused." In June's heart, he really regretted it. Good, very good. Grand Magus of the wizard race, archer god of the primordial world, you are really very good. With a wave of his sleeve, June sent the 10 Golden Crows back to the heavenly court. He turned his head and said to Hou-Yi. At the same time, he exerted a little strength in his hand and crushed the Xianming arrow into pieces. "I don't deserve such praise from your majesty. I am just eliminating evil for the primordial world." Since June appeared, Hou-Yi's body couldn't help but tense up. It was as if he had met the great Tao, and a great sense of fear arose in his heart. However, the pride of the wizard race didn't allow him to bow down to the enemy. Even if he died, he would die standing. Therefore, he sneered at June. "Your Majesty didn't teach your son well, so that the Emperor's son created chaos in the primordial world and killed hundreds of millions of creatures. I wonder how your Majesty is going to explain to the living beings in the primordial world. I killed a great evil in the primordial world and saved the people from the fire. I wonder how your Majesty is going to reward me? As the Lord of Heaven and Earth, June naturally had to be responsible for all living beings in the world. There was nothing wrong with Hou-Yi asking him this question. "Humph, you have a sharp tongue." With a cold smile, June didn't answer Hou-Yi's question, because Hou-Yi was right. It was all the Golden Crow's fault. Killing the Golden Crows was not only not wrong, but also meritorious. If June hadn't come here and affected the operation of heaven and earth, merit would have fallen into Hou-Yi's body at this moment as a reward. However, Hou-Yi killed June's 9 sons. He couldn't wait to cut Hou-Yi alive. How could he reward him? "How can I forgive you for killing my 9 sons? Pay with your life for my poor son." June stretched out his hand and grabbed Hou-Yi. Chapter 267. Just like when Hou-Yi killed the 3-legged crow, the 3-legged crow had no power to fight back. June wanted to kill Hou-Yi, and Hou-Yi also had no power to fight back. June's hand was not big, only the size of an ordinary person, but in Hou-Yi's eyes it was extremely huge, as if it covered the sky and completely blocked his vision. In his eyes, there was nothing but June's palm. Fear, incomparable fear. At this moment, under the pressure of June, a strong fear rose in Hou-Yi's heart. His future was dark, and all hope of life had been wiped out. He had already seen the end of his death. Under this palm he would die without a doubt. Looking at the palm getting closer and closer, Hou-Yi's heart was full of unwillingness. But no matter how hard he struggled, no matter how hard he tried, his body did not seem to belong to him. He could not move at all. He could only watch the palm press down and wait for the arrival of death. "Hey, June, you've gone too far." Suddenly, the void in front of Hou-Yi began to expand infinitely. In an instant, it was already an endless distance. At the same time, Hou-Yi's body was also retreating rapidly. In the blink of an eye, he was out of the range of June's palm. "Jiang, you want to protect him?" Looking at the figure that suddenly appeared in front of him, June suppressed his anger and said coldly, "The one who saved Hou-Yi was the leader of the witch tribe, ancestor Magus Jiang, Panga's eldest son, the master of space, and the top great medium in the untainted land. Only he who is known as the fastest in the untainted land could save Hou-Yi from June at the critical moment. In this way, the two most powerful people in the untainted land gathered here, the Lord of Heaven and the Lord of Earth. Jun, your son created chaos in the untainted land and was killed by Hou-yi. It was completely his own fault. You can't blame others. You are unreasonable. You have to use this reason to kill the great magus of our tribe, Panga's descendant. Are you bullying the witch tribe? After saving Hou-yi, Jiang breathed a sigh of relief and blamed Jun. He killed 9 of my sons. Looking at Jiang, Jun said with hatred, So what? They are just 9 feathered beasts. How can they compare to the nobility of Panga's descendants? When your son killed the grand magi of the sorcerer tribe, their deaths were already set in stone. No one can save them no matter where they go. It had been many years since the last grand sorcerer of the Wu tribe had died. Today, Kwafu was dead. It was imaginable how angry Jiang was. You're courting death. As soon as he finished speaking, Jun took out the He-Tu and Luo Shu, performed the Tao of the Khanate 9 palaces, and attacked Jiang. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Jiang grabbed at the void. Suddenly, the void completely disappeared. Even the great path no longer existed. Everything had lost its meaning. When space moved forward, time was born. Therefore, without time, space would at most stagnate. But without space, time lost its meaning. Space was the foundation of all existence. Without space, the untainted land would have no basis to exist. How would it be different from the chaos? As the master of space, Jiang's power could be imagined. It was just that the 12 ancestors of sorcerers were too famous, so his fame was overshadowed. As a result, he was not famous in the untainted land. He was far less famous than Jun and Tai. But this did not affect Jiang's power at all. Not to mention other things, Jiang's identity as the eldest son of Pango was destined to be powerful. In an instant, everything lost its meaning. The He-Tu and Luo Shu also lost their basis. They trembled in the air for a moment and returned to Jun's hands. Clang! Above the sky, a long bell rang, suppressing the universe and endless time and space. The Khanate 8 trigrams manifested and the 8 trigrams turned, deducing the principles of the universe. Tai and Fushi had arrived. Then the demon saints and demon gods of the demon tribe descended one by one under the lead of Kunpeng. On the other side, various laws manifested. The river of time flowed slowly, and the great path of the 5 elements descended. The 12 ancestors of sorcerers had arrived. Behind them were the grand sorcerers of the sorcerer tribe. At this moment, all the higher-ups of the sorcerer and demon tribes appeared here. The atmosphere was on the verge of exploding. It's going to pierce through the sky. Such a huge change had happened in the primordial world. Naturally, many great mystical abilities experts would notice it. At that moment, they hurriedly closed the mountain gate and ordered their disciples not to go out, for fear of being involved in the calamity and turning into ashes. The sorcerer and demon tribes were too strong. Once they fought, even the sage-to-be could not protect themselves. How could the powerful figures not be afraid? Big brother, let's fight. Tai silently came to Jun's side and said, there were no unnecessary words. One sentence had already represented his determination. Apart from Jun and Shi-He, the Donghuang Tai was the most sad about the death of the Golden Crow. He had regarded the little Golden Crows as his successors, but they had died in the hands of the sorcerer tribe. How could Tai bear it? New and old hatred surged in his heart. Tai's heart was filled with killing intent. He wanted to destroy the sorcerer tribe. Go back. At this moment, Jun calmed down and ordered everyone. What? Go back? Big brother, you, Tai, who was about to attack, was stunned when he heard Jun's words. I said, go back. After that, ignoring the puzzled expressions of Tai and the others, Jun waved his sleeves and turned to leave, returning to the heavenly court. Jun left without looking back. No matter how unwilling Tai was, he could not continue to stay here. He could only glare at Hou-Yi and leave with Jun. Seeing this, the other demons looked at each other and left as well. The sorcerer tribe did not stop the demons from leaving, because there was no need. At the Sage-to-Be realm, unless there was absolute suppression, if one party wanted to run, the other party would definitely not be able to stop them. If the demons wanted to leave, the sorcerer tribe could not stop them. It was better to let them go, so that they would not be annoyed. Fellow Taoist, don't be angry. Fellow Taoist, you have no choice. If we really start an all-out war with the sorcerer tribe, with our strength, we may not be a match for them. Moreover, we are fighting the sorcerer tribe on land. We have no advantage at all. We are completely at a disadvantage, and our chances of winning are even lower. On the way, seeing that Tai was still angry, Fushi stepped forward to persuade him. Fellow Taoist, I understand Big Brother's painstaking efforts. He is just angry. The heavenly court! Shaking his head, Tai was in an inexplicable mood. Since the establishment of the heavenly court, he had experienced too many things against his will. They were no longer the same as before. Fellow Taoist, don't worry. The sorcerer tribe will not be rampant for long. After so many years of hard work, the Zhousing formation has been completed. 365 heavenly Zhousing formation have also been gathered. We will definitely be able to activate the full power of the Zhousing formation. In that case, the sorcerer tribe has nothing to fear. Clearly, Fushi had great confidence in the Zhousing formation. Chapter 268. The Zhousing formation could be said to be Fushi's life's work. He had poured everything he had into it. Among the demons, no one could compare to him in the study of the Zhousing formation. This was because the Zhousing formation was deduced by him and Jun through the combination of Zhousing. However, in terms of the Tao of deduction, Jun could not compare to Fushi. Therefore, the main body of the entire Zhousing formation was created by Fushi. Jun only played the role of filling in the gaps. Fushi's ability to comprehend the connate 8 trigrams had something to do with this experience. Exploring the secrets of the Zhousing formation had allowed him to gain too much. These were the principles of the great Tao that could be used for a lifetime. It was with these gains that Fushi had accumulated far more than his peers. Only then could he understand the principles of the universe and comprehend the connate 8 trigrams. In Fushi's heart, the Zhousing formation was the #1 formation in the primordial world. Its power was endless. If it was fully operated, it could even defeat a saint. With this array, it was enough to be the foundation of the demon clan. What was the sorcerer clan to them? In the first battle between the witch race and the demons were defeated. It was not that the Zhousing formation was not good enough, but that the demons were not good enough. In terms of the strength of the demons at that time, there were only dozens of Daluo Jinxian. They could not even gather the heavenly cycle star gods. How could they activate the Zhousing formation? However, it was different now. After countless years of development, there were no less than 1,000 grand Luo demons celestials of the demon race. 365 heavenly cycle demons celestials had gathered and could fully activate the massive heavenly cycle stellar formation. The witch race was no longer a threat. Fellow Taoist, let's wait a few more days. When fellow Taoist Shiha comes out of seclusion and takes charge of the lunar star and completes the Zhousing formation, it will be time for us to fight the witch race. Shiha's seclusion caused the Zhousing formation to be incomplete. It was missing an important part, the lunar star. Therefore, Jun did not dare to rashly start a war with the witch race. That was why he returned to the heavenly court. The demons have gone too far. How dare you kill the great shaman of my shaman tribe? I will not let you off. In the Panga Hall, the atmosphere was solemn. All the ancestral shamans looked furious and murderous. In particular, the ancestor of sorcerer Hutu, the mother of earth who was known for her mercy in the untainted land, no longer had a trace of warmth on her face. Her face was murderous, and her eyes were full of murderous intent. She could not wait to kill her way to the heavenly court. It was hard to imagine that the Lady of Earth, who was loved by the world, would have such a terrifying appearance. It was no wonder that Kwafu was the great shaman of the Huta tribe and a junior that Huta valued very much. Now he was killed by the demon tribe. How could Huta not be angry? That's right. We didn't go and find trouble with the demon clan. We were already merciful. That demon clan actually dared to provoke our shaman clan. They really don't know what's good for them. Inform the clansmen to prepare for war from today onwards. 1,000 years later, we will set off for the heavenly court. I'd like to see if the demons will abandon their foundation and avoid the battle. Dijiang nodded and said. His words were full of the matter of the golden crow burning Kwafu to death. He did not mention the matter of Ho-E shooting the golden crow at all. That's right. Seeing that Dijiang agreed, everyone said in unison. Then, everyone got up and walked out of the hall. They wanted to return to the tribe and prepare for war. By the way, how's the geomancy map of the untainted land going? The geomancy map of the untainted land was a major event related to the inheritance of the shaman clan. If it could be completed before the war of shamans and demons, it would definitely increase the strength of the shaman clan. In this way, the chances of winning would be much higher when attacking the heavenly court. The rest of the places are almost completed. Only the western land was affected by the war of immortals and demons in the ancient times. The spiritual veins were all broken, causing the land to be more unstable. It is very different from before. If we want to draw the geomancy map of the western land of the untainted land, we need to calculate the earth veins again. It will take a lot of time. I'm afraid it will be difficult to complete it in a short time. After thinking for a while, Huda said, after all, too much time had passed. The untainted land had been through several wars and had changed greatly. It was far more difficult to draw the geomancy map than imagined. Then forget it. Let's wait until the war is over. The war between the liches and demons was imminent. Now, there was no time to continue drawing the geomancy map of the untainted land. By the way, Hoi killed Di-jun's 9 sons. Di-jun will definitely not tolerate him. During this time, let him stay in the Panga Hall to cultivate in case he is ambushed by the demons. Suddenly, Dijiang said to Ancestral Witch Xianming, That's right. This was the right thing to do. Although the Ancestral Witch Xianming said it lightly, Di-jun was not to be trifled with. The world is going to change. Looking at the sky, Feng Zichen sighed. Although the liches and demons had left, the influence was not over. As if having a premonition that something big was going to happen, the sky darkened. The entire untainted land was filled with an oppressive aura, making people breathless. All tribes returned to the ancestral land quickly. No delay. Also, from today onwards, the ancestral land is sealed. No one can enter, but no one can leave. Feng Zichen waved his hand, and a purple light curtain appeared, enveloping the East Sea and preventing anyone from going out. Not only the human clan, but all over the untainted land. As long as there was a Daluo Jinxian in charge, similar things would happen. Everyone in the untainted land knew how powerful the liches and demons were. As long as they were not fools, they would understand that if the two clans fought, the consequences would be very serious. If they were not careful, they would be in danger of being exterminated. How could they not prepare early? Above the heavenly court in the Lingshao Hall. Kundi, You deserve to die." At this moment, how could Jun not understand that his son had been schemed against by others? Otherwise, before the 10 golden crows were in trouble, he should have sensed it immediately instead of after the accident. In the untainted land, only the 6 saints had the ability to hide from him. The 3 pure ones were arrogant and would not do such a dirty thing. Fuxi was one of the 3 emperors of the heavenly court, and Nuwa had no reason to attack. In that case, the only ones who met the conditions were Zhu and Ti. Coincidentally, the 2 of them had a grudge against Tai. They had every reason to do so. After destroying the Magi, I will definitely destroy the Western sect. Jun clenched his fists and swore secretly. Now, although he was not a match for the saint could not do anything to him. Otherwise, he would not have attacked the 10 golden crows. When Jun defeated the Magi and unified the primordial world, at that time, he would be the true lord of heaven and earth. He would gather supreme luck and become the 8th saint of the primordial world. Moreover, he would be the most powerful saint. He might not be weaker than the Tao ancestor. At that time, it would be easy to destroy the Western sect. As for the Western sect, it was the foundation of the saints who received the commission. Once destroyed, there would be no possibility of their great ambition being fulfilled. Under the backlash of the heavenly Tao, even if Zhu and Ti did not die, his outcome would definitely be extremely miserable. Perhaps they would lose their saint positions because of this. It was not a secret in the primordial world that Zhu and Ti's saint position was unstable. All the great mystical abilities knew about it. After all, when they made their great wish, the great mystical abilities were all watching. With everyone's wisdom, they only needed to think for a moment to understand what a great ambition was all about. Wasn't it just borrowing merit from the heavenly Tao? However, how could it be so easy to borrow something from the heavenly Tao? From the moment they received the quintessential commission and became saints, the Western sect had become their most fatal weakness. As long as they destroyed the Western sect, Zhu and Ti would most likely lose his same position under the backlash of the heavenly Tao. That was the conclusion that Jun, Tai, Fuxi, and the others had come to in recent years after studying the saints. It had been so many years since Zi, Shao preached the Tao. Everyone gradually figured out that the so-called saint might not be a realm, but a karmic position of heaven and earth. Chapter 269. According to the Tao ancestor, there were only 9 saints in the Eldritch world. This was obviously abnormal. If saints were a realm, how could there only be 9? Shouldn't every great path be able to achieve Tao? Moreover, after the Daluo Jinxian, there was the primordial chaos Daluo Jinxian. This was a realm that could be compared to saints. Without the Hongmeng purple qi, anyone could reach this realm. None of those who could cultivate to become great divine arts were fools. With all these reasons added together, coupled with the title of Holy Birth, if they still could not guess the meaning of the Holy Birth, they would have lived in vain for so many years. Saint, this name already explained everything. It was not a realm, but a karmic position of heaven and earth, a karmic position that allowed one to entrust the heavenly way. After studying saint for so long, they did not find a way to become a saint. Instead, they found the weakness of Zhu and Ti. What a pity! 1,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. On this day in the Eldritch world, gongs and drums shook the sky. Countless sorcerers gathered and rushed toward Mount Bujo under the lead of 1,000 great sorcerers. The heavenly court was there. 1,000 great sorcerers were 1,000 Daluo Jinxian. This showed how powerful the sorcerers were. Are they going to fight? The movement of the sorcerers attracted many people's attention. This was a battle that would determine the ownership of the Eldritch world. The winner would dominate the entire eldritch world and become the main character of heaven and earth. This battle concerned every living being in the eldritch world. Anyone with some ability would pay attention. Set up the array. While the sorcerers were rushing to Mount Bujo, the heavenly court also moved. 3,000 demon gods walked out of the heavenly court and personally sat on the stars. They mobilized the primordial star system's origin to form the Zhoshing array. Among the 3,000 demon gods, there were 360 demon gods who were the most powerful. They held the heavenly cycle star banner and bathed in the heavenly cycle starlight, suppressing the eldritch world's main star. They were the heavenly cycle demon gods who could correspond to Zhoshing. Together with the 5 demi-saints of the demon race, there were 365 demon gods. 3,000 demon gods were 3,000 Daluo Jinxian. The number of Daluo Jinxian of the demon race was 3 times that of the sorcerers. However, this was not surprising. How many people were there in the demon race? All sentient beings could be considered as demons. With so many clansmen occupying the stars in the heavenly cycle, how could the demons not have many perfected golden immortals? What about the sorcerers? As the descendants of Pangu, they were of noble birth. But this also brought to the demons to the gods. This caused the number of sorcerer tribe members to be far less than the demon tribe members. It also caused the sorcerer tribe members to have fewer experts than the demon tribe members. Demon were to the demon race. Even if the demon clan had an overwhelming advantage in terms of numbers, it was still unknown who would win and who would lose. Kill. Under the lead of the Grand Shaman, the shaman army charged into the heavenly court and engaged in a life and death battle with the demon army. Rumble. The heavens and earth were shaking. Zhoshing shone brightly. It was so bright that the entire eldritch world was covered in white. Countless starlight fell and divided the space into countless parts, creating battlefields one after another. Daluo Jinxian and Daluo Jinxian were fighting. Tai Jinxian and Tai Jinxian were fighting. They did not interfere with each other and fought fiercely. Di Jun Dai. With a loud roar, the 12 grand sorcerers arrived. Without saying much, they charged towards Emperor June and the others. Sorcerers, today is the day you die. Zhoshing formation, rise. Looking at the 12 ancestors of sorcerers, Di Jun snorted and activated the Zhoshing formation. In an instant, Zhoshing was connected. Vast and endless power descended. It stirred up endless killing intent and surged toward the 12 ancestors of sorcerers. What? How can this be? Under this power, the 12 ancestors of sorcerers seemed to have fallen into a quagmire and could not break free. At the same time, their physical bodies were melting and being destroyed by the starlight. Although this process was very slow, it did exist. After tens of millions of years, the physical bodies of the ancestors of sorcerers would be completely destroyed. This was under the condition that no external force interfered. However, how could Di Jun and the rest not take action? Formation. Without hesitation, the 12 ancestors of sorcerers immediately performed a secret technique and formed the 12 divine beings formation. For a moment, the divine beings formation surged out and destroyed everything. Ha! Di Jiang, do you still think it's the same as before? Now, there are countless demon immortals in the demon clan. Their strength far exceeds that of the sorcerer tribe. The power of the Zhoshing formation is fully activated. The sorcerer tribe is doomed. Looking at the 12 ancestral sorcerers, Emperor June revealed a complacent expression. He too and Luo Shu flew out from his body and suppressed the Taiyang and Taiyin stars respectively. Endless Tao patterns were derived to strengthen the cosmic constellation array. Hey, is that so? Di Jun, do you really think that the 12 divine beings formation in front of you is its full power? Di Jiang chuckled and said mysteriously, What? Hearing this, Jun's expression suddenly changed, and he had a bad premonition. The 12 divine beings' formation that almost destroyed the demon clan in the past was not at its strongest state. How could this be? Haha. Jun, come and see. How deep is the foundation of the sorcerer tribe? Ignoring Jun's changing expression, the 12 ancestors of sorcerers shouted in unison. Real body of Pangu, gather! At this moment, it was as if the sound of Tao was roaring. It was vast and incomparable. The sound broke the seal of the Zhoshing formation and reverberated throughout the untainted land. Rumble! The entire untainted land was shaking. The great mediums and the saints were not surprised. How could this be? On Mount Kunlun, Mount Meru, and Mount Wanshou, the great mediums of untainted land stared at the trembling dojo, their eyelids twitching. This was something that had never happened before. In the past, no matter how fierce the untainted land was, the untainted divine mountains under their feet were always the same, firmly suppressing the surrounding earth veins. But now they were shaking and stirring up endless wind and clouds. This was so unbelievable that it was like a myth. Wisps of inexplicable light emerged from all over the untainted land and flew towards the 12 ancestors of sorcerers. At the same time, in Panga's hall, an indescribable heart suddenly disappeared. It broke through the Zhoshing formation and descended to the center of the 12 ancestors of sorcerers. This was Panga's heart. It can't be. It can't be. How could the sorcerer tribe? Seeing this, the 3 pure ones' eyelids twitched wildly. They vaguely understood something, and a bold idea came to their minds, causing them to exclaim in disbelief. They had completely lost the calmness that a saint should have. Hiss! It's incredible that the sorcerer tribe has such means. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.